Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm Anthony Trapani. We're back again, episode 3, Cali Death podcast, coming at you with Severed Savior this week. We got Troy Fullerton, Mike Gilbert. I'm on my resident homies on the podcast. We got Joseph, Casey, and Joel. Joel, we just added after last week because, you know, he wouldn't
Beautiful.
stop. Wouldn't stop bugging us. But no, I'm just kidding.
No,
No, we love him. We love him on. We want him on every week. So we're gonna have him on every week. All right. So where do we start?
Welcome to the podcast.
Yeah,
dudes.
welcome.
Yeah,
Thanks for having us.
Oh yeah.
So obviously, you know, we definitely have a long history together, and so I don't think I want to start this. Joseph, what were you gonna go with?
Oh yeah, so been a fan since probably Servile was probably the first one that came out when I was into death metal, and then saw you guys at the Winter's Tavern show, which kicked off your 2012 tour. Blew my mind. One of the sickest shows ever, easily.
Jesus.
And definitely remember highlights from that. You guys did a Suffocation cover, I think, on that tour, right? You played yeah.
Cover Thrones of Blood.
Someone fucking like
Most of our
knocked me out in the pit in that
I-
song.
I
tour.
remember seeing somebody getting leveled.
That was fucking me,
Oh,
probably.
now you're meeting him, dude.
Yeah, that was me. And yeah, dude, just super stoked to talk to you guys. That's, you know, we usually like to just take it back to the beginning of, you know, your interest in death metal and metal in general, music, and just so either you guys, whoever wants to start, maybe just say how you guys got interested in playing music. And
literally take it back to like when music became important to you, like when you decided you guys wanted to become musicians. Whoever wants to go first, because you guys went to the same high school together, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's where we met.
Okay, so so you're coming into high school. Did you guys know each other?
Go for it, Troy.
No.
Okay.
No, I transferred to Mills as a sophomore, and so it was like surprise, new school.
That's coming from Montana, right?
Actually, I came down a year before that, and I went to
Okay.
I went to freshman year in Mountain View,
Okay.
and then moved to Millbrae, and yeah, it was an interesting beginning, but and then Mike and I met, like I had to go to freshman orientation, I think it was, even though I was a sophomore, and we met there. Didn't really start hanging out until like a couple months later, but
Yeah. So I don't know why I was there. I was at the school that day for some fucking reason, like
got
a
in
month
trouble,
before.
so it made you
yeah.
go introduce freshmen or something.
No, I don't remember if it was summer school or something. I think I was in like a summer school class, and it just happened to be the same day that there was the orientation, and I still looked like a fucking douchebag, and Troy had long hair already, and he used to wear this fucking happy face shirt that had a bullet hole right in the forehead with the blood streak coming down.
It's kind of like
And,
Watchmen, right? Is that
Yeah,
that's Watchmen.
kind of. I think it was before that,
Oh,
but
okay.
I don't know.
What year is this?
92.
Nah, dude, Watchmen was in the 80s, bro.
Okay, whatever. So
Don't know what it was from. I found it at like a Goodwill store. So
yeah,
I
so
get
I look
Go ahead.
pretty much like I look now, a fucking douchebag, and Troy was all metaled out, and for some fucking reason, one of the fucking kids was like, "Oh, here's this new kid. Why don't you show him around?" And I was like, "Okay." Met
So
Troy.
he's-
What's up, dude? And we had an instant dislike for each other, I guess. And
Typecast.
he pretty much, well, you know, I didn't think anything negative of him. I think he didn't like me at first, which is most people's first reaction. And you know, he
I'm
just
trying
thought
to
I was
remember
some,
if that was mine. I can't remember.
he just thought I was some preppy fucking dork that was, you know, idiot that was there to show him around or something. And I was like, okay, so you know, here's the center court. So yeah, all right, peace, later. And he's like, yeah, I'm out later. And then I think we met like for the first time. Really, he was he like almost instantly got a job at the Straw Hat Pizza that was 2 blocks away from my house. So I'd always go there and play video games and shit. And this is back when you could smoke indoors. And I was just hanging out, and he was there at the salad bar. And I forget if he was wearing a fucking Megadeth shirt or something, but I was like, "Oh, dude, I'm fucking, I'm into metal and rock and shit. And I play guitar." And he's like, "Dude, I'm a drummer." I'm like, cool. And then we decided to jam one day, and it was fucking awesome. Like our very first jam in his house, in his little bedroom. They were just super tight. I want to say the first song we played together was Master of Puppets. Is that right?
Nice.
Probably. It's one of
And
those what do you know? I don't know. What do
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. And I think the very first Master of Puppets, and it was just fucking razor sharp, just dun 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 dun, just fucking tight as hell, And we just kind of looked at, I don't know, it was just one of the things, like it just felt right. We looked at each other and we're like, this is fucking tight, sick.
Mm-hmm.
So
Hell
that's
yeah.
my story.
When
All right.
yeah, one of those things.
Well,
where,
no, it can't be your story, dude. We just fucking started.
That's it. We're done. No, that's it.
Yeah. Cut.
Troy, what do you
Yeah.
got to say about what he just said?
Oh,
Yeah.
There was some girl's preppy older brother who was like the football quarterback or something that, came up to me and, hey, what are you into? Found out I was a musician. He's like, oh, I know somebody that plays guitar. Let me introduce you to him. So, anyway, fast forward to the jam session. It was one of those things where having recently jammed with a couple other people that I just didn't hit it off with at all. And then seen Mike play, went over to his house one day after school with some friends because they're like, oh, dude, you gotta check this guy out. He's like, his every AC/DC song and the solos and Megadeth and all kinds of shit. He can play them all like note for note. And so we went over there. I think this is sometime after the Straw Hat, but before we jammed.
You're right. You're
things.
right. Was it Jer?
Yeah.
You and Jer that came over? Okay.
Yeah.
I remember that now.
Yeah. And so it's one of those things you're like, oh, well, I don't know. How's this going to go? Let's see. And it's, oh, what do you know? I don't know. What can you play? What can you play? And it's like, oh, this is shit. Okay. Well, I don't know. Try something. And then you start playing that first song. You're like, oh, shit. Okay. Yeah. All right. Oh, what else? Play another song. You're like, oh, fuck. That was good. All right. Play another song. It turns into like, 2 hours of playing everything and he knows it like perfect. It's like you've been playing together for months or years or something. So yeah.
Cool, dude. So like how long did you guys do that before you started writing original stuff?
A long time.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna bring it up. When was what grade were you guys in? For where? Wait, what did you say?
That's a ways away. So there's backstory to all that too.
Okay.
Because we had a mutual friend named Paul Ponikoff.
Who I just met at your wedding.
Yeah,
for the
his
first
brother
time.
is Pete Ponikoff of Benum.
Mm-hmm.
Some people may know of him. He's like a super known in the Bay Area metal scene since like the 80s and shit.
Booking shows at the
Paul, yeah,
was it the Gilman that he was doing for the longest time?
Yeah.
I think so.
Pete. Well, I know you're talking about Paul, but
Yeah,
I was just continuing with the Pete
So
stuff.
Paul was a year above us in high school, and he was already into death metal and stuff, and he turned us both on, Carcass, Cannibal, Death, all the late 80s, early 90s shit. And this is still probably 92. At that time, even though we were into it, the band that we were doing was like a typical fucking high school cover band where we played Metallica, Megadeth, Slayer, Alice in Chains. We had a second guitarist named Mike Sauce, who was also a year above us and went to the same school, and he was a good friend of mine, and he really got us into Alice in Chains and shit. So there were a lot of vocals, a lot of vocal harmonies, and it's just kind of just kind of a typical high school band where you just cover Slayer, Metallica, Megadeth. I was super into Megadeth at that time, um, Rust in Peace and Countdown to Extinction were fucking just incredibly monumental, yeah, in my playing, because that was, I was coming off of being mostly like a blues rock kind of player, ZZ Top, AC/DC, that kind of stuff, and then it progressively got, then it was Metallica, Megadeth, Slayer, that kind of shit, and then of course the next step above that was death metal. So
where did jazz come in for you? Jazz
uh
guitar.
I
Was it after death metal?
well, yeah, I mean, I was always kind of into progressive stuff. When I was a little kid, like 4 or 5 years old, I remember my dad showing me like early 70s Yes, like Fragile and Close to the Edge. He got me into the Police really young. So none of that of course is jazz, but it definitely got my musical horizons wide from a young age. I don't remember what was like my first like kind of big jazz thing or jazz kick. It was sometime in high school. I don't remember who it was that got me into it, but I didn't dive head first into jazz like I did, metal and rock and shit. That was more of a gradual sort of thing over several years.
Charlie Hunter trio come in.
Yeah. Charlie Hunter in the mid 90s was very influential and a huge inspiration. Al Di Meola, Chick Corea, all that kind of stuff. So after we had already been playing in the band you were going to mention, Anthony, which is which was the guy I mentioned before,
Number
Paul
one
Ponikoff.
fan. Number one fan.
Yeah. Paul was a bass player. So it was just a trio. It was just me, Paul, and Troy. And we were like kind of best friends anyway, this trio. And I don't know where we got the jazz ideas from, because we weren't really listening to jazz that much, but we wanted to do this blend of death metal, jazzy, weird shit, things where, some grindy stuff, things where like a lot of riffs where Paul, the bass player, would play something that was 7 or 9 notes long, and I'd be playing something that was 5 or 12 notes long, and they would, eventually catch up and meet each other. But in the meantime, it was fucked up harmonies, and you kind of had to listen to one or the other, or else it was just a clusterfuck.
It was 2 a.m. Copious amounts of smoke were in the air.
Yeah.
Ren and Stimpy were on the TV. It's somewhere in the haze.
Ren and Stimpy was definitely on the fucking TV, dude.
Yeah.
Just the intro, though.
So were you guys self-taught or were you guys taking lessons?
Troy?
Self-taught here, yeah.
Yeah, I was self-taught. When I got my first guitar, I think it was like Christmas when I was 12. And my dad showed me the Bo Diddley rhythm, which is just a E E and then you bridge to the A, but it's a 3/4 rhythm sort of thing. And he just showed me, he played it and said, "That's all I'm going to teach you." I'm like, "Okay, great, thanks." But I learned it. I realized that it was actually kind of a cool little lick, and starting off, with a 3/4 strumming pattern was interesting, because I didn't really have to think, I didn't have to learn it. I didn't learn 4/4 and then go like, "Oh, I got to learn 3/4 now." And it was off. It just like, it's like I started on a weird timing kind of thing. But yeah, self-taught, other than a couple lessons in the first like 5 to 7 years, one here and there from just random dudes, but it wasn't any, there was no jazz or anything. I did take a couple of lessons from a jazz player later on when I was like 19. I took, I think, 3 or 4 lessons from this dude named Tony something at Gelb Music in Redwood City. And I learned a lot of shit from that guy. He was a really good player.
So how long did Where last?
I want to say 94 to 98. That sound about right?
And basically, right after that, Severed came less than a year later.
Troy,
So,
are you talking? Oh, there you go.
99.
we yeah, so we had talked about starting Where for a while, and then just like kept putting it off. Didn't have anywhere to practice. I didn't even have a drum set at the time. So we eventually got that going. In the end of '94, we were like, made this deal for like, by the end of the year, we've got to jam somewhere. And then it was like a last minute thing. And I borrowed a kit, and we scrambled together and ended up jamming in the like back storeroom at the grocery store that Mike worked at because his boss was cool. And kind of got that going. And then, yeah, we were working on it pretty solidly until it was actually in '99. Mike and I were still kind of jamming, but Paul had kind of moved on. He was doing Vulgar Pigeons. He was living in Santa Rosa and commuting, and
Yeah.
we were in the same rehearsal studio as our other buddies.
Sorry to
Greg and
interrupt real quick.
Tom.
So you were in Vulgar Pigeons that early?
That was later.
So 98, late 98, early 99, Paul started Vulgar Pigeons with John Gatelli, who was a drummer. That
Mhm.
was his
Telly
like
Speed
child
shop.
Yeah, exactly. He was a childhood friend of Paul's, and him and those two and Spencer, this kid named Spencer from Burlingame, and Jeff Lenormand, and I forget which band Jeff was in before Vulgar Pigeons, but he went on to be, actually him and John started Tortured Conscience, which is that Christian death metal band. But anyways, Where was just kind of like going nowhere. We had a few good songs, but we weren't taking it too seriously. And
Wait, you
Paul,
were where, but you didn't know where?
yeah,
Come on.
Sorry.
Paul and John decided to start Vulgar Pigeons as like a side project for both of them, and they came out with this fucking 5-song demo that was mind-blowing, and it just made me and Troy go, fuck, what, like he's obviously not going to be in Where anymore, because he's got this. It's so fucking good. They just kind of really came out of nowhere with that first EP, whatever the hell it was called. And then I'm trying to think of where it went from there.
You're on the
I
first
think
full length?
Where just kind of, we never really, huh?
You're on the first Vulgar full length, though, right? Is it the first one?
No, the second one.
Okay.
Yeah, the first one was, I want to say, Genetic Predisposition. It had like a cartoon of a pigeon on a surgical table or something goofy like that. But yeah, it was really good. Vulgar Pigeons was a shit for a while. So we weren't mad at Paul or bummed out.
Yeah.
That he kind of,
Maybe a little jealous, but
a little jealous, sure. Yeah, because they were really fucking good. And Where just kind of fizzled. Like we never really talked about it.
Did Where ever do live gigs?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Lots.
And
there
you
were
guys did like a split EP with somebody too, right? No?
I don't
Or
think
is it
so.
just a recording that you guys have?
Recorded an EP or two.
Planet of the Apes.
Bunch of.
By the way, it's only on my iPod, so if you guys have it, dude, I need to get another copy because my iPod takes a shit, dude. I don't have any Where.
Which
We've got
versions?
some.
There's multiple
Yeah.
versions.
Yeah, there are multiple versions.
Different versions of the same song. Some with vocals, some without vocals. Some
Rare Bird.
We were.
Love that shit. All right, so Where was
kind of
fizzling out, and then what was going on from there?
Well, kind of what was happening there was that Murray and Tom and my brain just went blank.
Armando.
Greg and Armando.
Yeah.
Had been jamming. I don't remember when Tom and Murray started Christ Denied. That was maybe 96, 97, something like that. I don't know. They'd been around.
I think it was 97 or 98, something like
almost
that.
a couple years at the time, and then they moved to the same rehearsal studio we were in Redwood City, and then Tom moved to Hawaii, and
Nope.
no,
No.
All right. Correction.
No,
Fix
it's just a minor detail. They didn't move to the same rehearsal studio. They were, I forget where they were jamming originally.
Well, that place in the city, like the empty.
Yeah.
decrepit-
And then Murray asked me if I wanted to jam with them, and then they came to our studio, and Greg was using your drums,
Oh,
and
yeah.
we jammed. It was me, Murray, Armando Avalos, and Greg White on drums, and we didn't have a
Just instrumental?
vocalist.
Just instrumental.
Yeah. But I mean, it was just like a bedroom death metal band, like there
Yeah.
there was Tom and Murray started it,
It
but
started
Tom
very-
moved to Hawaii, several months later. What?
Tom was super into doom, so it was slower and doomier in the beginning.
Yeah.
And then it got progressively heavier.
He-
faster,
yeah.
and-
Yeah. So
Then he talked Mike
I was
into,
jamming with them.
with him.
I was jamming with them, and then I they had I think 3 songs, kind of like the blueprints laid out, and they were gracious enough to let me kind of take a sledgehammer to them and keep the good parts and rewrite it and make a different songs out of those songs, essentially. And Troy came to our because we're actually practicing before Werewood practice, and at some point we realized that the drummer was not up to the newer material, unfortunately. And I asked Troy, hey, do you want to just jam with us? Because I think Troy got there early one day or something. I'm like, dude, have a seat. You know these songs.
I think Greg couldn't make it last minute or something like that.
Like that. And when Troy sat down, it's like all of a sudden the songs were legit. And I hate to say it, like Greg was a really good guy, and a good drummer. Yeah, he was a good drummer and a good guy. He just wasn't up to speed for blast beats and shit. And Troy was, and Troy came in, and it was just like, when me and him first jammed, it was just instantly, it was legitimized, and it felt like a real band all of a sudden. And I think it was maybe a week before we kicked Greg out after that.
Yeah. How long until Dusty came along?
Not that long after, maybe a month, a few weeks.
Was
something
that
like
through
that.
Murray?
Yeah, I forget.
Also?
They were. I think he was friends with Armando. I think. And
Yeah,
then,
I think you're right.
He'd come to practice, and then because he, was a guitar player, not a vocalist, but he could growl, and it was one of those things. Like, I don't know, one night, several beers later or something, it was like he got on the microphone, and we're like, oh, hey.
Did he come from a different band? Dusty?
I don't remember what band he was in. He was a kid. He was like 17 or something. We were all like 22, 21 or 22. Actually, no. Yeah, 22 or 23 at that time. And he was like 17. And I had, partied with him at Murray's apartment a few times. And
He just turned 18 right about the time that he joined.
Yeah. And he came and did vocals, and it was fucking great. He looked exactly like he did when you guys remember, when we played shows with him. Like he already had hair below his ass and fucking, fucking windmilling and fucking, he had a good growl from the get-go. So that was another thing that was an instant, it hit it off instantly. He was a perfect fit right from the beginning. So
cool. So you guys got all that together, and then how long before Puddle of Gore demo EP, whatever you want to call
2000, 90,
before we recorded it, it was probably about a year, because that was around May of '99 or something by the time I joined, and then Dusty joined, and then we wrote the rest, because he already had 3 songs, and wrote a couple more.
So
we played a couple shows, and then we're like, oh shit, we need a CD.
Yeah.
And so
First song was Steel Toe. Second was Puddle of Gore. Third was Barry. Fourth was Fecal.
Fecal, yeah.
And fifth was Molesting.
Yeah.
And that one was actually Molesting the Dead was the very first song that they had written that I like
Kinda
took
revamped.
apart and like
Yeah.
took like 2 riffs from the whole song and made a whole new song out of it, and that ended up being the most recent and final song recorded on our original demo EP.
Nice.
That's sick. So on the Willowtip biography, it says that one of your first shows was with Incantation,
I think that was our second show.
and
Yeah.
then also Discord and Discouraged Deeds of Flesh. You guys supported that and had a CD release show as part of that.
Yeah, I don't even remember. Troy might.
Or like, yeah, it's more like we got a chance to open for them at what the heck was that place? Something ballroom or somewhere.
Oh yeah,
And,
yeah, right. The Grand Regency Ballroom or
we
some
like
shit.
called it our demo release show, I think.
Yeah.
Because we're like, oh, these are good bands that are all headlining, playing the bill. I think they were on tour or something. And we're like, yeah, let's make this our CD release. But yeah, I think one of the first ones we got onto the bill with Benumb and Vulgar Pigeons or something at the Cocodrie, because we had played with them before with Where.
I think that was our very first show, and that's the one where my clutch cable snapped on the way to the show, and I had to get towed to the show.
Fuck.
And then the second show was with Incantation headlining in Concord, I think. And I just saw, I didn't even know this, but no, it wasn't the Depot. It was some other place.
Was it?
No.
Yeah. Because it was like a pool hall or something.
Yeah. I didn't know this until I saw Murray mention it on Facebook like last week, but I guess Richard Christie, Death and on from Howard Stern was the drummer for them at that time. I had no idea. I'm like a fucking huge fan of that guy on the Stern show. So that was pretty
Oh
cool.
yeah.
I have a funny story about that, because Murray, Dusty, Armando, those guys were really into Incantation. I was never really that into them, and so I had no idea who any of the members were really. And we went to play that show, and I had heard the name. I knew who Richard Christie was, but I'd never seen him, never met him. And of course, we're just this unknown, opening band. And I think I probably was late. Like I was late a lot back then, showing up, trying to throw the kid on stage. And this dude comes up to me. He's like, "Hey, can I help you set up?" And I was like, "Sure, yeah." And nobody ever asked me that. Yeah. So he starts helping me set up the drums and putting stuff around. And he's like, kind of placing them. This seem right. This seem right. And I was like, "Oh, this guy knows what he's doing. Must be a drummer or something." And then we get done setting it up and get off stage, and we're just about, getting ready to get started. And guys come in like, "Oh my God, dude, you know who that was?" And I was like, "No, what? Who?" And they're like, "The guy helping you set up your drums." I'm like, "No, who?" Like, "That was Richard Christie." And I was like, "Richard Christie?" And they're like, "Yeah." I was like, "Oh shit." I'm like, "Oh no, now I want to go thank him again." I'm like, super cool dude. Yeah.
I didn't know that he played with anyone that big after Death and Control
Yeah,
Tonight or whatever. Yeah.
I had no idea he was ever in Incantation.
That's
Like I had
sick.
no idea until like last week that he was the drummer for that show. But
Pretty sure he drummed for Iced Earth too.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was one of those guys that had just picked up a bunch of projects, actually.
Hold on, I'll be right back.
Go for it.
So Troy, how is like getting into death metal drumming? Like, do you remember like first hearing a blast beat and being like, I'm just gonna do that for the next 20 years, or like how did it go down?
That was pretty close, actually.
Yeah.
So rewind back to the meeting people in high school. So I met Mike on freshman orientation, didn't hit it off. First day of school, I'm in gym class, getting ready to getting changed back into my school clothes or what I was wearing. And of course I was wearing like a Slayer shirt or something. And this dude comes up to me, tall, skinny, lanky dude. And he's like, "Oh, hey," he just starts going off. And because he liked the shirt, "Oh, am I into metal and this and that? And have I heard, have I heard of these guys? Have I heard of these guys? Have I heard of these guys?" And these are a bunch of bands I've never heard of. And I was like, no, sorry, no, Megadeth, Metallica, Slayer, Anthrax. Anyway, so fast forward to every day at gym class, this guy's talking to me, and this is Paul Pondikoff from, Vulgar, Pigeons, Where, and after like a week or so, he keeps asking me, go to lunch with us. I want to show you, come with, I got a car. We all go to lunch together. And after a few invites, I was like, yeah, okay, fine. So we start hanging out, and he's kind of like, we're talking and we're playing, mostly thrash and everything. And he's like, hey, what are you doing after school? I was like, I just got to go home. And he's like, let me give you a ride. I said, okay. So we leave school, we get in the car, and he's like, hey, I want to show you some bands. Have you ever heard of Carcass? And I was like, no. He's like, well, here, let me play it. So he puts on, I think it was something off of, not Corporeal, but anyway.
Symphonies.
Yes, Symphonies. And it was not really like, I liked their later stuff, or probably more than the earlier stuff at the time. So it was like, yeah, it's okay. I think the music's cool. I don't really dig the vocals, but whatever. And he's like, all right, have you ever heard of Cannibal Corpse? And I was like, no, man, I've never heard of any of these bands, I swear. And he's like, here, let me put this on. And he puts on Hammer Smashed Face. That album had just come out. It was, just came out, and or semi-recently anyway. And he puts on Hammer Smashed Face, and I was like, it just is one of those things where it blows your mind. I was like, what the hell is this? Like, I've never heard anybody play that fast, which is funny and kind of ironic to say. I've never heard anybody play that fast. The snare drum, the blast beats. And I literally went home, got out of the car. We sat in the front of my house for a little bit, listening to more music, got out of the car, went in the house. My dad was like, hey, who was that? I was this guy I met at school named Paul. He introduced me to death metal. He's like, death metal, what's that? I was like, it's the craziest shit I've ever heard. It is so fast. And I tried to demonstrate with like my finger on the coffee table. I was like, the snare drum is like, and I couldn't.
It was like, you're like, dude.
I couldn't move my hand that fast yet. I was only playing thrash at the time, so, but yeah, it was one of those things that blew my mind. I was like, oh man, like this is, because I was an angry kid looking for ways to express physical violence. So I was like, this is great,
Nice.
Yeah, and it just kind of bloomed from there, I guess you'd say. Yeah,
I definitely remember hearing Hammer Smash Face. That was one of the first blast beats I ever heard too. So even probably like 15 years later, it's still the gateway for almost everybody, I think.
I remember being at me and Paul Ponnikoff went to the drive-ins, just the two of us, just to smoke weed and see a double feature. I forget what the first movie was, but the second movie was Ace Ventura, Pet Detective.
Nice.
And we just knew Jim Carrey from Living Color. And, we're just sitting there baked watching this movie. And then just out of nowhere, remember, he just goes into, or I forget what happened right before it, but he just walks into the club and it's just dun, 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 just instantly. And we couldn't believe it. Like, we're so baked, and like, we're not expecting, because there had never been any death metal, anything, at least as far as we knew, in like pop culture, anything up until that point. And then to see it, actually Cannibal on stage, in that movie, just out of fucking left field, it was incredible.
Yeah, I think he's on what's the talk show?
Oh, Arsenio. Where he's talking about, about Napalm Death.
Napalm Death is his favorite
yeah.
band, dude. And I thought seeing that's super cool for somebody of his level to actually call out a band like Napalm Death.
I heard he was like an actual fan though.
Yes.
Like he wasn't at that Arsenio thing. Kind of made it seem like he was kind of joking around a little bit. But
well, it's because he probably has to, say it through his character, kind of. He has to stay as Jim Carrey, but really he's showing an actual part of himself.
And he did like a little mock vocal sesh on that. And
that actually sounded kind of brutal.
Sounded like Barney, like almost like whatever the singer's name. Sounded like exactly like him. I was like, dude, we need to get this guy to a little guest spot.
Yeah, it's like 25 mil.
Yeah.
No big deal.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so let's steer it back to you guys again. So now we're at the spot. Well, we're ending where we're already Christonide's going. Troy now is in the mix, and now things are starting to pick up speed, right?
So I think at that, so our second show, I think was the last, the one with Incantation was our final show as Christ Denied, because the singer had mentioned to one of us, he's like, yeah, so Christ Denied is a band from fucking like Holland, they're buddies of mine, or some shit like that. I forgot what country they're from, but there was already that band name in Europe. So we're like,
I still
okay.
have never heard them, but yeah, I do remember seeing their logo on other shit.
Yeah,
They're
so
from Spain, apparently.
Spain, okay.
Spain.
So we instantly, after that second show,
Instantly like "We're the
instantly
real Christ
realized
Denied." And
no.
we're like, oh wait. Yeah.
Well,
Guys,
yeah.
You guys kind of pulled like a pig destroyer, because they used to be called Cop Killer. Then they changed it from Cop Killer to Pig Destroyer. You guys just went from Christ Denied to Severed Savior. It's kind of the same shit, right? All right.
Yeah.
Idea,
It's
I guess,
cool,
yeah.
It,
That's deep, dude.
Severed, I don't know if any of us, Severed was one of those just random, like, we were just spitballing names, Captain Crunch, fucking
a
blah,
lot of
blah, blah,
names.
all this shit.
Tried a lot of
And Dusty was just like, dude, Severed Savior, bro. And we're just like, what? It just sounded good. I've pretty much hated the name ever since then, but it sounded good at the time, it had a good ring to it, I guess,
Totally.
So what the fuck what was next?
it's sacrilegious to say, but there was a lot of names. There was just like spewing of names,
yeah.
and we were trying to decide on them, and there was 5 of us in the band, and there was a vote, and some of us lost.
I voted against it, didn't
Okay,
I?
so that sounds like maybe
I
you
vote against
lost.
it.
Troy, let's hear
I'm pretty
your
sure Mike
runner-up,
and I
dude.
voted against it, actually, but we
You
lost.
voted against it?
Troy
What
was
was your-
he's going for Captain Crunch.
That was
Well,
missed opportunity there.
Right?
in hindsight, we probably picked the right one, but at the time, we were like,
It's a standout logo. That
The-
logo definitely catches my eye when I see it.
that made a difference. Yeah.
That's 100% of the reason why I even checked you guys out. Was I'd go to the pound all the time and I'd see 1,000 people with your guys' shirts, and I was like, there's got to be something to this band. I keep seeing them everywhere.
Right.
And I was like, it's probably just some local band. They have a bunch of friends. I'll go check it out. And actually, I think you guys were the first one to coin. I don't know. You could totally correct me on this. I went to your website after I saw it at the pound, and it's just all San Francisco technical death metal. And I was all technical death metal. I've never heard of that before. I'd never heard that term used. Maybe suffocation, maybe, but I don't even think they ever described it like that. I don't know if you've ever.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
remember that. Yeah, I don't remember ever like describing other than just like death metal or whatever.
On your website it said brutal technical death metal.
Yeah, technical brutal California or something.
Yeah,
California
I
and
think
technical
it'd
brutal
say
death metal or
California in there
something.
somewhere too.
Yeah.
Yep.
We
That was
tried
the
to, like,
first. I give you guys credit for that. I think you guys started it.
West Coast. Yeah.
You-
It was one of those things when you start to see it. The first logo was pretty cool, but then
Who did that one?
I don't remember.
Some
and then-
tattoo artist.
Yeah, and then
And then Demon got
Somebody-
it tattooed on the back of his head.
yeah.
No, that was the
No,
second.
that was
That's the
that was
legit logo.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, you guys
There
had
was just-
the demo logo, right?
Demo-
Right.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
demo logo, and we were like, and somebody's like, oh, I know somebody that knows John Zig, and
So
I don't
Zig
remember how we
did
got introduced
that
to him, but
logo,
yeah, so
the
then he
second
did the
logo.
and then obviously album art, and so yeah, then that we went through a couple of like revisions too, but overall, like that made a big difference. And
You can see them on the Severed Insta page too. The Instagram page has all that visual history of the band, which is really cool.
the kind of the, yeah.
I don't think I've ever been to it. The like we're the most. We
Yeah,
always
Mike,
have
you
been. We
You'll
always
see it.
have been, and probably always forever will be like the least. Like how do you want to say it?
Active.
Well, yeah. We
No,
were
I didn't say
never
that.
like we were never like, we never took it too seriously. Like we never self-promoted a lot. We did a little bit, but we never really like went to shows spreading our flyers or you know, like posted a lot of shit and content on MySpace or Facebook or Instagram or anything. You know, I only found out that we had an Instagram page like 6 months ago.
Yeah, it was like a word of mouth thing.
Yeah.
I'm just like,
Grassroots.
dude, you got to check out this band, Severed Savior.
Well,
That's how you-
I think at one
Comment on,
point, I think at one point at the beginning, or near the beginning, when our demo was out, the Puddle of Gore demo, I want to say it like of the MySpace music death metal charts or whatever, like some of the demo tracks were pretty high up on that, and I think that did a lot for us. And I don't know how they got there, but
mp3.com, bro.
that's where I found you guys,
yeah,
mp3.com.
yeah, maybe that. Maybe
My story of finding you guys is actually on the first episode, which I think is now deleted. Decrepitated Tormentation.
why that was entertaining. You should keep it up.
Right on. Well, I think that the reason why I
Episode
think we were
0.
deleted is because eventually I'm gonna have to tell those stories again, you know. So it's like, whatever. But the story is that meeting Dusty at the Pound, and that's how he had told me to check Severed Savior out, mp3.com. It was
Yeah, I think that's right.
it's just so funny, like mp3.com, dude. Check it out.
Yeah.
Those were the days. Yeah.
All right, so yeah, so Forced to Bleed. So you guys decided to record 3 more songs.
Oh well, after the demo came out, it was kind of apparent that we needed. Well, first of all, the demo. Right before we recorded, Armando joined the Marines, and I, having not played bass in years, had to like literally I didn't even practice. I just went when we played in the studio or when we recorded at the studio. I just played all the bass tracks on Armando's bass, and so he was pretty much gone for I don't know a couple months. He got kicked out for getting into a fight or some shit. So he didn't make it all the way, but he came back, and we're starting to write some newer stuff. And I forget what the deal was, but we ended up kicking him out, which sucked. But this is a good dude, funny motherfucker, but it just wasn't working out. I think he was getting too drunk all the time or something. I don't remember.
He slept through too many practices on the couch.
Yeah.
Passed out drunk. Yeah.
Yeah. So I asked Murray, I'm like, dude, fuck yeah, I'll do it. And he just one day he's from second guitar player to our bass player. And I think we did play a show or 2 like that. And we recorded like that. And then I think at the Incantation show, Jared Deaver was there, and he liked us, and we became friends with him a bit. And he had just quit Deeds, or was quitting Deeds right around that same time. And we talked him into joining. And let's see, I had already written.
Might have even been later, because I thought he was still playing with Deeds when we played the show with Deeds.
That's what I mean. He may have still been in Deeds, but he was quitting right around the same time. And we'd written Fuck the Humans and Dead Speak, and then Jared joined, and me and him wrote Forced to Bleed together, the song. And that was great. Like I really loved that collaboration. I thought we went really well together. Like our styles were totally different. He was, totally, just, he was like from Deeds, he just sounded, his style was Deeds of Flesh, and my style was totally different. And he would always say, dude, yeah, I'd never write that. Like I'd show him a riff and he'd be like, yeah, I'd never write that, but it's cool. And, we kept it. And there was a little bit of headbutting at the beginning, but not really. And for the song Forced to Bleed Well, that, you know, we decided to record the 3-song EP, Forced to Bleed. And I think at that time he didn't have all of Fuck the Humans and Dead Speak down. So I ended up recording, he had some parts down, but I ended up recording both guitars at some points in the songs. And you can actually kind of hear, if you listen with headphones, you can kind of hear where the switch is because it just sounds different. And then, so that was late summer of 2001, I want to say.
Yeah.
And then
So that was the purpose. I mean, it was recorded as 2 EPs, and then Troy, you came in with Disfigured to put it together almost like a compilation of those 2 EPs.
That was kind of like hurry up and record situation because, and we did have like a couple independent labels that had approached us that were interested. That later on fell through. We're like, okay, we recorded. You want to, send us some money for it and put it out? And they're like, oh, something happened. I don't have the money anymore. And it was like, hurry up, record, get it put out because we were being courted by a unique leader. But in order to get signed to unique leader, we needed to have like a real CD out, not just a demo. And so that was kind of where, it was like, hurry up, get this recorded, get it out, and then we can get signed to unique leader.
right.
And so yeah, at that like last ditch effort because we had already like booked the release show with Deeds and Disgorge and those guys in November 21st or something like that. And it was just one of those things, like all of a sudden we didn't have a label that was going to put it out. So
are you saying that Forced to Bleed was 2 different EPs put together?
Yeah, the puddle of
I thought it was
Bleed.
Okay, go ahead.
Forced to Bleed is the 3-song EP, right?
Yeah.
Fuck the Humans, Dead Speak, or no, Fuck the Humans, Forced to Bleed, and Dead Speak.
Okay.
And then our EP, our demo EP, Puddle of Gore, 5 songs were the bonus tracks, right? So the bonus tracks were longer than the 3-song EP and sounded infinitely better. So it was like our bonus tracks blew away, even though the music, was better on the first 3 songs. The 3 newer songs, they sounded like shit compared to our 5 demo tracks, which was kind of funny.
Mastering too, because we had to put these 2 completely different sounding recordings together, and then I don't know why we didn't just have them mastered separately, if it was just money or time or what, but yeah, getting them all mastered together, it's like it made the first 3 tracks super tinny and no low end, and it made the last 5 tracks super bassy, and yeah, it was not ideal, but there was a time crunch,
dude. But regardless of how you guys, this is a conversation that we've all musicians have been having, and we've been having recently. It's like we're never going to be happy with our recordings. And Forced to Bleed to me was actually a very like powerful, influential album that I had come across early in my development as a death metal fan, and regardless of how it sounded, like it like made a really big impact on me. So in the end, it doesn't matter what you guys are nitpicking about how it sounds.
You can't deny that the first 3 songs sound like absolute shit, and the last 5 are demo tracks sounded like a legitimate recording.
Dude, I feel like the biggest novice. I had no idea. I had no idea there were 2 different recordings.
Yeah.
One sounds like it was recorded with a fucking ghetto blaster in the corner of the room, and the other sounds like an actual studio recording.
Which, by the way, is how Carnivorous did all our pre-demos before Troy. I think we might even have did one ghetto blaster recording with Troy at the rehearsal too.
Yeah.
So okay, Force to Bleed is recorded. Now what happens? You guys just
So we had, Troy, do you remember what month we recorded? It was sometime in summer of 2001. It was like June or July, right?
Yeah, because we had to hurry up and get done so Vulgar Pigeons could record.
Yeah, that's right.
We were trying to make a good recording, but
it was out of some dude's house. Larry Santiago, very cool guy. It was a
Larry.
blast. It was a blast. No, Vulgar Pigeons recorded before us with him.
Oh, was it
Yeah.
before?
Yeah, because I'm the one that talked us into recording with him. Because
Oh,
because it was so much fun to record there, even though it sounded like absolute shit. Yeah.
Vulgar
so-
Pigeons came out all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Paul had a funny quote about the Vulgar Pigeons Summary Execution album. He got interviewed somewhere and they were ragging on how shitty it sounded. And he was like, you know what, our goal was to make it sound shitty and it surpassed all of our expectations. Like it was way shittier than we were hoping it would be. But
That's rad.
so Severed had started writing new material after we recorded, and this is where me and Jared really started butting heads. You know, I like to take time to write stuff, and the other guys in the band, everybody pretty much just wanted to get out there and play shows. You know, just let's get out there, let's throw a fucking album together. At least this is how I felt. You know, I felt like everybody was saying like, let's just fucking throw some shit together, record it, and tour on it. And I was like, you guys, I'm all about the music. I want the music to be as good as I can possibly make it. You know, I've always been a, you know, hyper perfectionist and like really hard on myself. And I always felt like if I can't do better than my influences, then it's not worthy of me putting out something. You know what I mean? If something wasn't, if I didn't do something as good as Death or Carcass or Cynic, what's the point? You know, it's you're just taking a step backwards. I wanted to take a long time to write songs, and probably too long. They wanted to just pump shit out, and
Really, it was a vote of confidence in your writing ability. But
but
I said it was a vote of confidence in your writing ability. I think it was like, oh, dude, you don't have to be so critical. It's you're writing killer shit. Let's just do it. Something
yeah,
like that. I don't know.
I don't know. It just
Different processes.
yeah, it was different. You know, Jared is a fucking great. Like, I loved the dude. Still love him. Funniest motherfucker. Good guitar player. Good songwriter. Great guy to hang out with. But at that time, you know, it just wasn't working out. Like, I wanted to take the band in the Fuck the Humans direction, and he wanted to do, to me, like another Deeds of Flesh album. And I kind of, you know, I don't know, neither of us really wanted to meet halfway. You know, we just really started butting heads, not on a personal level, just musically,
Creatively, yeah.
and yeah, and we had written probably the first half of One by One. You know, he came in like, he was like, all right, so here's the new song. And it was the riff where the vocals come in. It was just I don't know if you can hear if that makes any sense.
Yeah,
But
Yeah.
That was clear enough.
that's how he wanted to start the song, like that, just come in fucking out of nowhere, which is cool. But it's, to me, again, it was like, well, that's kind of like Deeds of Flesh kind of vibe, you know, just coming in with a song like that. I was like, why don't you take that riff and, you know, play, you know, sit on the notes longer. So we wrote like the first half of that song together, and halfway through it, I was just not happy. I later came to love all that material. It just, at that time, for me, it wasn't my thing.
Didn't you write part of Buried Again, or most of Buried Again?
No,
Well, there was another song. We had like 2 songs in the works, I think.
well, the re-recording of Forced to Bleed on that album, which I don't know why it was redone, but
because
that,
the first one didn't do
I don't know,
audio justice. Yeah.
the second one didn't either, but
we had a bad audio quality one time, and then poor musicianship the next time.
I don't know. I was
my fault.
I like that album. Don't get me wrong, I love that album, but that song, or that second version of that song, I think it wasn't necessary.
When we were recording Forced to Bleed, and we had done 27 takes of that song, and I just could not get it right, because back then we did start to finish. There was no Pro Tools. There was no take it from the break. The drums was start the song, play it perfectly all the way to the end the song. And of course, all that stuff was like faster and slightly beyond my actual like ability, let alone comfort level. And I think we literally did like 27 tries, and I just couldn't nail it. I eventually lost my mind.
Just tracking the drums though.
Just tracking the
'Cause
drums on that song.
Right.
Which was
So-
also in another dude's house, right?
That was in Larry's.
Oh, that was, I'm talking about the first time on Forced to
Oh,
Bleed.
the first time.
So,
Sorry.
when it came up to re-record it for Brutality,
Right.
I wanted another shot at it because I didn't play it,
Okay.
at, and I thought, yeah, this time I'm going to nail it. This time it's going to be right,
And so,
Yeah.
do you feel
How'd
like
that work out for you?
Didn't work out so well. I don't know.
I was gonna be a little nicer with the way I was gonna say
It wasn't bad. I'm just fucking with you. It wasn't bad.
No, I know. I was gonna say personally, Troy, how do you feel with your second recording of it?
I'd have to listen to it, but I honestly haven't listened to it in like a decade.
I was just looking to see if you got your redemption. That's it.
No.
Yeah.
Because I think my performance might have been better and the audio might have been better, but the song as a whole lacked.
Dude,
So
Brutality.
it's-
Okay, now I'm gonna tell you guys because in the Brutality days, I'm still just a fan. So I came across Forced to Bleed, and it blew my mind. And then Brutality came, and I noticed the change, but I still really enjoyed the album when it came. It's got some really fucking catchy parts in it, And so I just look at it as there's the Mike Gilbert Severed Savior, and there's the non-Mike Gilbert Severed Savior, and
a lot of people do.
it's not like I'm saying that in a bad way. I'm just saying like that's the way that I look at it, and I like both for what they are, So
And something we also skipped over is that Mike didn't record on Brutality's Law.
Yeah.
We didn't even say that. So
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm jumping forward. So okay, yeah, Jared, you writing
just to
different
say,
shit.
I was hoping, I was so happy with how Jared and my what do you call it? A collaboration on the song Forced to Bleed came out so well. And it it just didn't carry on like that. The first half of One by One that we worked on together, I thought was good. And then I was really not digging one of the riffs that came in, and he was working on another song that I wasn't really feeling. And this was also like
I was gonna say he's a very he's a very charismatic and influential guy. So getting everybody kind of on board with his vision was something he was good at doing. And like the band name, we were a 5-piece. So when we kind of had that hard decision of picking a direction for the album, is it gonna be this way or this way? There was a vote.
Yeah, and he, we were both, we both had a bit of an ego that we were the guitarist of the band and we were going to be the main songwriter, and neither of us wanted to really meet halfway with the collaboration, and it just wasn't working out. And this was also right when 9/11 happened, and that was a huge fucking huge bummer to say the least. And I just kind of, when that happened, I almost felt like, fuck, does any of this mean anything anymore? I just kind of went through a funk. And it was shortly thereafter, maybe a month after, I think in October sometime, I was getting miserable at practices and miserable during, whenever we tried to write stuff, nothing was good enough. And I wasn't coming up with anything good either. And they were ready to kick me out, but I beat them to it and I quit first. And it was a mistake. It only took me a couple years. Once I came back a year and a half later. I think I quit in October of 2001 and came back in like April or May of 2003, like a couple months after Brutality came out. And by that time I'd come around and was loving those songs. So I regret not being part of it, because who knows what would have been. Maybe it would have been worse, maybe it would have been a little bit better, who knows. I just regret not being there all the way through from the beginning, but I was proud of them for putting that album out, and they did it really fucking fast too. Way faster than I can come up with shit for the most part. They wrote and recorded that album within, I don't know, 8 months or something like that.
Pretty quick.
Okay,
yeah.
so
But no, I later learned to love most of those songs a lot.
yeah, dude. Yeah, totally. I was just gonna ask Troy. So like, leaving you where you're at right now. So Mike quits. You decide, okay, we're gonna go forward and we're gonna go in this direction. So take us just a little, through there until Mike comes back, because he said
Down
he's,
that road.
a year and a half later he comes back. So
Mhm.
that chunk of time was no, you went on the Cannibal tour, so that was all before the Cannibal tour.
This is all
right?
beforehand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that Bloodletting when you jumped back on, Mike, for like playing live?
So I had been back in the band for months.
Okay.
We had been practicing, and I had all the songs down. But at that time, I was taking care of my grandparents, and when was that? That was 2000. 2000. It was I guess when Bloodletting was fall of 2003.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And my grandparents
November,
were getting
December.
old. And I was kind of helping them out, to get groceries and just take care of them to some extent. And I had work that I couldn't really take off from that at that time. So that tour kind of was not. It was bad timing on my part. And I want to say the final show for that tour was in Palo Alto, and I did play the final show.
I was at that show. That's where I met Anthony there.
That was the first night that Joel and I had met.
I met you and Dan Kenny. That was that night. Yeah. That was the night.
Fest, something like that.
Something. Yeah. It was the
second one.
Yeah.
My claim to fame for that night is I did all the intros for Gorgasm, bro. I got to hang out next to the sound guy. Like, I knew exactly when I needed to stop the intro so they could play their song, dude.
Sweet.
Isn't it funny how cool it was at the time to do that type of thing? No?
Oh, dude, it was killer. I mean, we were probably like 19 years old, Joel?
Yeah.
19, 20?
Right out of high school. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. It's wild shit. Season the Obese, dude.
How do we? Yeah, I don't want to get into that too much. Like AOL or something? Would we meet on?
Yeah, that's what it was. I don't know how you and Dan had connected somewhere on the internet, and he told you that we were doing Carnivorous, and you were gonna possibly join.
Yeah. And I remember seeing you guys. I saw you guys at that show, and I was like. I saw him standing over there, and I was smoking a cigarette against the chain link fence, and I was like, "Shit, that's them! I got to pretend like I don't see him, so I can act all cool." I think I showed up wearing a Carnivorous shirt, dude.
Like you wouldn't. Of course, you would have known it was me because I'm wearing a Carnivorous shirt.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
Dork.
That was an awesome show, though. That show actually. Well, yeah, that was the first ever show I ever attended, for sure. I was obsessed with Spawn of Possession at the time, and I don't think I even had Forced to Bleed yet, but that show I just bought everything. I was like, from then on, it was like
Spawn was amazing.
Yeah,
they were fucking amazing.
Dude. Yeah.
So Joel, real quick, so Severed Savior was a band that you first heard live, like you never heard any of their shit before that night?
It's just like going back when, listening to these guys talk a little bit, trying to.
Because I think that's the best way to be introduced to a band, dude.
Well, I remember
no idea what's coming, and
I think you and Dan both were like, "Hey," right before Severed went on, and they were like, "Hey, Severed's about to play with the original guitar player who's like a shredder and blah blah. You have to see it." And then so I went in and stood right in front of Mike. I was just like, holy shit, like what the fuck is this? Like I was like completely blown away. And there's like, I met Bill Robinson that night. I met like I think Eric Eric Lindmark was there. I want to say he was there. And everyone, I was just this little fanboy that like had just been listening to Deicide and I got a hold of a Spawn of Possession album on a random just went to Streetlight Records, was like, oh, it's on Unique Leader, this is supposed to be cool, and I went and got it. Without Kerry actually got it, my buddy Kerry, and we put it in the CD player and we drove home and we're like, what the fuck is this? I've never heard anything like. So then we became obsessed with just Unique Leader, everything, just like anything, Psychroptic, Severed, anything that came Unique Leader. We were just like, what, they were just pushing the boundaries on everything. And they had this knack of finding all these bands that were doing something completely different. And that's kind of, I don't know if it was before Spawn or after Spawn, but it was right around 2002, 2003 is when I heard both. So that's when I became slightly obsessed.
Yeah, dude.
I remember like on the Unique Leader website, you would go and like click all the samples. Remember that?
Yeah.
Like remember with Dan, we would just sit there and like, what is this band? Like, whoa, Spawn, holy crap. And then it was like Psychroptic. Those guys are nuts. We just like trying all the different ones and
Necronomicon.
yeah. Totally, dude. There was cool
Odious
stuff.
Sanction. Yeah. Odious Sanction, bro.
I actually saw you guys. I might have heard the clip or something, but I pretty much saw you first, like before I heard the CD. And like I saw you guys it was a birthday party show in San Francisco, like Indeed's played. It was like 2004 or something like that, or somewhere, or 2000.
I was trying to.
Where was
recently
that?
Talked to me about this. And I was trying to figure out where
it was somewhere in the city.
It's not. It wasn't.
I had just moved there.
Oh,
2004.
Are you right after the Cannibal tour? Because that was our first show back from the Cannibal tour.
I have a story about that too.
Broadway, right across the street from where the Stone used to be on Broadway. And
okay, that might have been it.
There was like, 15, like 20 people there.
Del Rey.
Dude, I totally forgot, dude. We drove, even before that. So Dan and I drove all the way from San Diego, because we still lived back here. We drove all the way to the Whiskey in Hollywood to see you guys with Cannibal Corpse, and it was sold out. And we couldn't get in. We drove like 2.5 hours, and then we like walked up, and we're like, why did we get tickets? We just didn't like think about it, and we're like sick, dude. So we just it was like probably right at the time you guys were playing. We were so bummed. We're just like drove home like, well, that sucked. We're not doing that again.
that happened to me with Cynic.
Oh really?
When Cynic toured with Cannibal and
the Berkeley show.
Yeah. Who else? Vader.
My brother was there on acid.
Jesus Christ.
Wow.
Yeah, there was an earthquake that night too. There was like an earthquake that day. They were on acid. After they left, there was a pretty big earthquake. He was like,
yeah.
Jeez.
I just remember
had your brother known about Cynic before that?
Yeah. He's always ahead of the curve.
Your first experience with Cynic, and you're on acid.
No, he was there for Cynic pretty much. Yeah.
I got to the show. That show was sold out, and Troy and Paul got in. And I was standing outside with, I think Tom, listening to Cynic, Invader, and Cannibal, but just standing out there in the fucking cold in Berkeley, smoking, and that was a bummer. But
that's actually how I met Casey. Actually, back there was I think it was an Origin show, and it was at the Aptos Club down the street. It's like literally down the street from me, and I was like, you know what? I was 20, and it's a 21 and over, and I'm like, I'm just gonna go stand outside and just listen to it, smoke cigarettes, and just listen, because it's in Aptos, which is such a small little part of Santa Cruz. Origin's playing here. Like I have to go, and that's where I met.
That was rad.
David and Casey and everything. They're all standing outside too, and then they're like, "Oh, we're in a band too. You want to hear our demo?" And that's pretty much where I connected with Odious, was in front of just doing the same thing.
Well, I remember, so that show that I went to, so Dan and I moved from San Diego up to Santa Cruz in 2004, or I'm sorry, up to San Francisco in 2004. And so like, I was like 21, and I remember just being like I think I thought it was that year, but we there was a show, it was like Deeds of Flesh. And then, you guys were playing, talking about that. And so we went, and we I think, like I said, we had heard the clips from like Brutality is Law at that point, but we didn't like know about Forced to Bleed or, that kind of style too and stuff. And like Dan's like a super picky guitarist. Like he doesn't really like freak out about everyone except like someone that just is insane, like Eric Rutan or Muhammad, whatever, all those kind of people that are just, shredders. But like, dude, he was blown away by you, Mike. Like,
no shit.
Remember you had that Blue Jackson, and I actually have that guitar now. Not yours, obviously.
Are you talking
the SL2? I got it right here.
This one.
Yeah, dude, look.
I also
got it?
had a fucking
Nice.
SL2.
I don't even know, bro.
I got this
Sick,
like
dude. That's
I
the
found
same
it later.
fucking guitar.
When I
Rad.
fucking got it, I was like, oh, that's the one that Mike Gilbert played at that show, and I was like,
Yeah,
I love this. I've had it for like 10 years or whatever.
that's fucking awesome,
But
dude.
Dan was like, he didn't even like really know who you guys were, and like he had heard Force to Bleed, or I'm sorry, he had heard Brutality is Law, and he was just like, that guy like Mike, that guitarist, he was like blown away by you, dude. I remember that. It was funny. It was awesome, and I was too. The whole band, you guys were so sick, dude. Like,
Thank you.
Troy, all of you guys. I mean, it was like the whole show was just fucking dope. So yeah, we were just like, after watching you guys, we're like, well, that was fucking rad. Like, what the fuck? And then Deeds played, whatever.
Yeah, and blew us away. Yeah.
You guys were amazing. I don't know. It was a killer show. It was all the bands. I can't remember who else played, but I just remember it was mainly you guys and Deeds. But yeah.
Dude, I mean, that's the whole, I mean, I've talked about it every single time. The reason why we're doing this thing is because we've acquired so many unique people with so many unique projects. And I know I'm in this band, but I'm saying like I was a fan before this band, so I can still talk like this. We want everybody to fucking see this shit, dude. Like, if they don't know about like Severed Savior, they need to know about Severed Savior.
Dude, you didn't like them that much. I mean, Carnivorous sounded nothing like them.
Severed Savior Jr. I know. Well, okay. So let's touch on that real quick. Let me just touch on that real quick. Yes, I will admit they're in the beginning of Carnivorous, it was kind of like what Mike was talking about earlier, kind of throwing shit together to have songs, to make a demo, to get out there and get going, you know? And those first few songs, yeah, it was definitely cookie cutter, and not necessarily cookie cutter, but, you know, very catching
in the style of.
Yeah, like a lot of blueprints from a bunch of different bands. You know, there's probably a Gorgasm riff on there.
Right.
There's Decrepit riff. There's Severed sounding stuff. That digga riff. Like, you want, if you love it, you want to play it, and that's what Dan was doing. I'm not a guitar player, so it's like I can't really, you know, drive it in a certain direction other than like.
I mean, increments of defecation, fecophilia.
It's not even grammatically correct. And by the way, I'll tell you right now that is not even grammatically correct. And Gilbert is the one who told me that.
Yes, I was like, hey, that that title we came up with,
that turd song.
No, don't do it.
Yes. I know, dude. And these are the things that actually works perfect with what I'm talking about right now, because it's like you start and you go and you kind of just copycat shit. And then you have the older brothers who are telling you, no, you're not, you don't copy. Don't copy. You know,
I didn't really see it as a copy. I just that's
no, I'm not saying that you literally said those words. I'm just saying like there's times like Murray would literally be like, dude, that riff has already been done in this fucking band, and you're like, oh shit, you know, it's just like one of those like check yourself thing real quick, you know. But yeah,
as a just touching on what you just said, as a guitarist, who's any guitarist that's even a shred critical of themselves in their writing will have written 20,000 riffs that they are like, yeah, that's this other fucking band. God damn it.
Yeah.
It's already fucking been done. God fucking damn it. Or I've had ideas just going through my head, and then somehow I've heard it, you know, on a new album that just came out. And it's like, fuck, why how the fuck they know I was going to do that? You know?
Yeah.
They did it first, and I don't know how.
I have an app idea. I want to design an app. You could play a riff into it, and it like scans the music database and tells you if it's already a fucking song. But I have no idea how to code an app. But anyone out there wants to get in touch.
Speaking of an app, have you guys seen that new Ron Jarzenbeck app? It's
no.
It's like a Ron. Basically, you can write out, like, it gives you probably 10 or 11 characters to write. Just type in like fart, whatever. You can type out whatever you want to say. You can say like, hello, Anthony. and it will, and each note, it's in a certain time signature, like a total Jarzenbecky kind of time signature, and it will just create a riff in the key. It will bam, 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 and it like however whatever like sentence or words you decide to say.
As long as it's within the what is it? The circle of 12 tones.
12
Yeah.
something like, yeah. Oh, dude, I got mine over here somewhere too. I got.
Wait. I don't even know, bro.
What's his name or her name or
Cinder.
Cinder? I got Sagan behind me somewhere.
Cinder.
Another-
What is
Yeah.
like? I know cinder block. What does cinder mean? I've never
Like
looked
a
up
little
the-
ash, because she was a little dark,
Oh yeah.
little burnt thing.
Sagan was just
Nice.
here. He just didn't want to show up for the cat party.
So when I finally get over to your place, thanks for letting me know. I'm gonna definitely have to take some allergy medication.
Yeah.
'cause I'm allergic to those fucking things, dude.
So a bunch of people, fans who replied to the posts asking for questions, they want to know about the Cannibal Corpse tour, especially the Bloodletting 4, right?
No, those are two different ones.
Sorry. Okay. So there were specifically questions about the Cannibal tour with Cannibal Corpse, Black Dahlia Murder, but you guys can touch on the other tour, obviously, too. But
I just remember, there's a lot of funny things from that tour, but I remember
Yes,
saying to
Titanic.
Can we wait real quick?
Okay.
Before, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I know you're about to go into it, but can we just talk about real quick about your means of transportation and how we made that a reality, and then how it became a complete failure?
sure.
Talking about the SS Titanic.
Yeah, I funded, for the most part, funded the purchase, which wasn't much, of a 45 foot or
40.
40 foot airport shuttle bus that Troy
City
went down
bus.
to Arizona to pick up. It had seats, rows of seats all the way through it. We tore all that shit out, worked night and day for like a month, turning this thing into a livable space and
Yeah.
and
And
we put a floor in
with
that
a
thing.
couple of apprentices, by the way.
Yeah.
By
we
the
put-
name of Anthony and Dan.
Yeah, thank you so much. We put a floor, we fucking drilled a floor into that shit. We made 6 bunks. We made a fucking dining room area,
All
bench
behind
seating
our
area up
rehearsal,
front.
all behind our rehearsal building.
The goal from the get-go was, hey, and Troy's sales pitch was, hey, I can get this 40-foot fucking bus for about $3,000. It only has 3 gears, but I can get a highway gear to put into it so we can go on the highway, because otherwise it just tops off at like 45 right? So that never happened.
It
That
did
never
60.
yeah. So
My red line.
we never got that highway gear that we were promised.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever we're driving on the fucking highway, each shift, first, second, third, and you just hear the fucking RPMs go up higher than any vehicle should
Yeah.
go. And that's where it would sit.
Mhm.
It was sitting at
Just
red
coast at
line,
like 5,000-6,000.
about 50 miles an hour, all the way around the continent like that. We bought a
Who
we
drove?
went to this dude.
This dude.
Who was
This-
supposed to drive and then who did most of the driving?
Oh,
Did
this
you
dude-
wait real quick, Troy? You picked it up in Arizona. Did you drive it?
Yeah.
How'd that fucking go?
Well, it was rough. I'd never driven a 40-foot bus before.
Yeah, that's what I want to know.
And, to be fair, that was not the bus I was trying to buy. I was trying to get an ex Greyhound bus, but I lost a bidding war on it on like eBay or something. At 5 in the
Yeah, okay,
morning.
I remember
And-
that.
And then we were again last minute. It's like I'd been trying to get, waiting for this bus, waiting for the auction to end, and then I lost it. And then we got a few weeks till we got to leave on tour. Now we need something now. Yeah, so what we could afford was ex Southwest Airlines airport shuttle, a city bus, in Phoenix. So I flew to Phoenix and picked it up and drove it back. Yeah, it was I'd driven some like fairly big trucks, like, flatbed trucks and stuff, but never anything like that. So that
Yeah,
first
that's savage, dude.
It was
fucking
the biggest piece of shit.
Yeah, it was.
It had no air conditioning, so we had to put like an air conditioning unit that was meant for like a van
Yeah.
in the roof. And every time we use it for 10 minutes, it would pop the breaker, the circuit breaker that we'd installed. So we'd have to go back and pop that thing. And it barely, it took like 5 degrees off of the temperature. The electrical generator wouldn't fit in the engine bay. So we strapped it to the roof of the bus and bought a fucking hose at Home Depot and fed that hose down the side of the bus into the engine bay where we stuck the gas tank for the electrical generator.
It was the other way around. Generator was in the engine bay. The gas tank was on the roof.
I'm sorry.
Gravity fed.
Yes.
Yeah.
The generator was in the engine bay. The gas tank, a 5-gallon gas tank, was strapped to our roof. And every show, at the end of the show, because we'd have to fill that fucker up because that was supplying power for the AC unit, the TV, whatever the fuck else we had.
Lights. Whatever,
we had to open up the safety hatch, boost somebody up onto the roof, and then hand them a 5-gallon tank of gas to fill into the fucking tank of gas that was feeding the electrical generator.
It's like what is that? I think it's called the Belafonte in Life Aquatic. The fucking ship that Steve Zissou has that's falling apart. It's like every like 10, 20 minutes, the fucking power shuts off and then it has to go to the fucking backup generator. That's the same exact thing, dude.
It was awesome and miserable. Like it got the job done. It got us from city to city with only a couple breakdowns.
It probably would have made it a lot further if you guys didn't have that blowout and went to that spot that gave you the wrong size tires.
Yeah.
Well, that and the apparently you're not supposed to use just regular like clear rubber tubing to feed gasoline through.
Yeah, I guess.
Because the day of the last show, which was supposed to be in New Orleans, we were in Katy, Texas, and apparently a large fire had started in the engine bay, and it was fed gasoline the whole time because it just ate through that hose. Gas was pouring in, which was just adding literally gasoline to the fire. And as far as I know, that bus is still in a fucking some salvage yard in Katy, Texas,
right?
Yeah.
Yep.
It actually kind of made you famous for a little while, because I remember Murray was working for YouTube, so he got that on the front page of YouTube. Well, he got the front for splash page for everyone.
It's still yeah, and that's still up. I think it got like 65 first day, something like that.
Jesus.
And it's still up on YouTube. I think it's just titled Sever Savior Bus Fire or something.
Something like that, yeah.
And if you watch it, there's a demo version of the first half of the clean song, the acoustic song I did on Servile. That's the music, and it was actually on an electric guitar. It was on that. I played it on that Gibson SG over there.
Oh, nice.
Just clean channel with some chorus and reverb, but it's the same like first maybe 15 seconds, 20 seconds of that song, something on there.
Yeah, and then what's it called? Troy's drum head, the burnt drum head.
Yeah.
You kept using that thing for a while after, right?
Years.
Yep.
Toasty marshmallow head, yeah. Yeah. It's a hell of a way to wake up at like 7 a.m. on the highways. Filling with smoke. Yeah, it was.
Dan was the last one to wake up, I think, wasn't he?
You guys want to see the
woke
video?
Up as he was being tossed out of the bus by Murray.
So that was the thing. Like, so I think the driver noticed smoke coming out from, and we were starting to have problems with the generator. The muffler was clogging on it. Muffler was getting red hot, and it would smoke and chug. And so the driver's pulling over. Oh, Murray woke up first, or got whatever. And
it was Murray and the driver.
Smoking. Murray and the driver says it's smoking, so he wakes me up. and we pull over, and we get out, stumble out of the bus 7:30 in the morning, go walk into the back, and it's smoking. So we're like, oh, something's on fire. So Murray grabs a gallon jug of water, and we get to the back of the bus, and we're like looking at it, and the generator's purring along, and there's no smoke coming out of the generator, like the hatch in the side of the bus where the generator was, but there's smoke coming from underneath. And we look down and we see flames licking out from underneath the wheel wells. And he's just like, looks at the gallon of water, and he's like, fuck, this ain't gonna do anything.
Yeah, I was dead asleep, dead fucking asleep, hearing pounding on the side, and we're going, yo, motherfucking bus, get the fuck out of the bus. And I jumped out. I like got my shit. It was already smoky in the fucking cabin or whatever you call it. I was putting my clothes on, putting my shoes on. Now this is
Hurry up.
This is fucking like 9 or 10 in the morning, something like that.
It's like 7:30. It was early, yeah.
It was already like 105 fucking degrees outside.
It's the end of July in Texas, yeah.
I
was like, dude, get everybody off the bus. I'm gonna start pulling gear. So we got on. We opened up the back door because it was a city bus, so it had a front door and a back door, right? We opened up the back door. There were no stairs there anymore because we removed the handicap ramp thing. And
wheelchair
so
lift.
The wheelchair lift, yeah. And he's yelling at everybody. He's getting them off the bus, and I just start grabbing gear and just like chucking it into the ditch on the side of the road because the fire is right underneath the gear storage and like the rear lounge that we never really finished, which was right by the engine. And the fire was coming up through the floor, which is how my bass drum got toasted. It burnt through my case and scorched that side of the drum, melted the head. It was one of the last things to go out because it was like in the back corner of the bus underneath everything else. I didn't get the amps or the merch, but I was, because the cabinets were huge and heavy, and I couldn't pick up mics.
We got them out though.
We got them out, but it was mostly like just chucking personal stuff and drums and whatever I could get my hands on.
Do you guys have any burnt merch out there?
Probably.
Oh, there we go. Nice. Oh man.
Yeah. Yeah, that's our baby.
Crazy, man. Wow.
Jesus.
Wild.
Can I just comment on how weird it looks to see video I don't think it's that old, but it looks like it's from the 80s now.
It looks like it was on a fucking razor.
July 2004.
Damn, that's crazy.
It is long ago, dude.
That's pretty long. It's 16 years, yeah. That's
16
crazy.
fucking years, dude.
Murray pounding on the fucking door, or on the side, just the side of the bus. And as soon as we heard fire, that's when it was me at the bottom, Dusty and Sean, our guitarist at the time. All three of us got out of the bunk at the same time on top of each other and just like landed on top of each other. Got up, put our clothes on, shoes on. I jumped out of the bus and landed in mud up above my knees and pulled my feet out, and my shoes were gone. So, so from fucking the border of Louisiana and Texas all the way home, I had no shoes. Just fucking, it was awesome.
Insult to injury.
Yeah.
God.
All right. That was awesome. I love that. But I want to get back on the path. So, okay. We do the Cannibal tour. That fucking boost severed up, way up.
That's with you, Anthony?
No, I wasn't on that tour. That was still with Dusty.
Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah.
No, actually, Dan was their merch guy. That's as close as I got. So
Dan Kenny, the bass player for Suicide Silence, was our merch kid.
Yeah,
and he was a kid at the time, and the butt end of many jokes and practical jokes.
He was a player of Carnivorous first.
Yeah, yeah. But that's most people know him from Suicide Silence now because he's
joking.
a fucking huge rock star, and we're just sitting here.
By the way, actually, I got some questions for you guys from him. Let me pull them up real quick.
From Danny?
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, he was.
Well,
he could ask
actually, now that I'm pulling him up, it kind of works because I mean we already talked about it a little bit, but your favorite memory from that tour?
He's like the bus fire. I'm
Yeah,
just kidding.
yeah, I
I'm
guess so,
kidding.
right?
No, I'm just
So,
kidding.
favorite memory from the Cannibal tour?
Yeah, your favorite memory.
Uh, one favorite memory. I mean, every show was incredible. You know, can't touring with Cannibal first. Just get touring with Cannibal is like nothing else you'll ever get a chance to do.
Yeah.
Every show was incredible. You know, this is our first time playing in front of 1,000 people or
Mhm.
more at certain
Mhm.
shows. Every show, regardless of the size of the venue, was sold out pretty much. You feel like you're a fucking rock star and you're nobody, you know, essentially. And I remember it saying at the time to everybody else, like there was one of those moments where we were all together, kind of huddled. I was just like, you guys realize like it's only going to be downhill from here. There's nothing we ever going to do is going to be as good as this or better than this. Everything is downhill. And they're like, yeah, we know. Well, whatever, it is what it is, right?
Sorry.
And those guys are just the fucking nicest, down to earth, fucking most gracious, generous fucking guys in the scene that I've ever met. They're incredible.
Totally.
But one of the funniest things I remember was being at how's this? It's a club in Montreal called Fafoons or something like that.
Fufani's electronics.
Fufani, yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's amazing. It's this Thunderdome type place where there's like, you know, a couple hundred people on the floor, and then there's this balcony that's got another 100 people, and then like a third balcony, and like each level has a bar, and there was just a shit ton of people. It was an amazing show. One of Troy's triggers didn't fucking work for shit the whole show, so that was awesome. But I just remember like it, you know, like it was this huge death metal show, and afterwards everybody stayed around. Like everybody stuck around. They were just kind of lounging, like lingering and mingling, and we're just like, okay, all right, we're kind of loading out and putting gear off to the side. And not even half hour after Cannibal ended, they started playing fucking techno. And these same motherfuckers that were there for the death metal show, pitting the whole time, are all of a sudden
About the
doing
glow
fucking,
sticks.
the same fucking people are
They
now
pull
having a
the
rave.
they pull the glow sticks out of their boots that they with their camo pants or no camo cargos, dude. You flip out the cargo on the side. And
I think Casey remembers there was a place. The
Joe, remember Berlin?
oh, there was the knitting factory. And it was,
yeah, that one.
Oh yeah, dude. That
and
was
was like a
people,
gothic thing.
people were
after.
like suspended like with hooks afterwards. While people,
well, I don't know.
Yeah,
Okay,
it was
real
like-
quick, we
was-
just have to explain it real quick. Knitting Factory is multiple rooms. It's not just
the one in Hollywood, right?
Yeah, the
Yeah,
one
yeah,
that's
yeah.
now it's not even there anymore.
Okay.
It was on Hollywood Boulevard near that Chinese movie theater.
Yeah.
And but it was multiple rooms. I think they had like 4 different rooms in there of various sizes. There was the front room, then there was the main room, and then they also had like 2 different smaller rooms in there somewhere. I've never even been inside them, but the front room and the main room were just divided by like auditorium doors, you know, the swing open doors. Hit the fucking whatever, the push thing, and then they just swing open. And but they would just divide it for the night and have 2 different shows. But sometimes it wasn't a show. The front of this place was like a BDSM night. And
Stories about this shit.
yeah, and so we were playing the main room, and then the front room, that shit was going on, but we could still like go in between. And they started leaking into our show, and then by the end of the night, when everything ended, they just opened those doors, and both our show and the BDSM crowd started to mingle.
Right.
We started playing a bunch of fucking like I don't even know if it was like trance and goth, like VNV Nation shit, and everybody's just like, it just, the vibe totally changed, but it was still like, it kind of like worked still. Like everybody started just like, okay, now it's a party.
Well, that's that's
Yeah.
what it was like at the fucking Montreal show. You know, it was just instant, completely different scene, yet the same people for the most part. It was like 90% of the same people there. And like I just remember like being in a row, like there was us and like Cannibal dudes and a couple Black Dahlia dudes standing off to the side with our gear, just like all of our jaws were dropped. And I just like looked down the line of people of, you know, all the people we're on tour with, and everybody's just like watching this shit go down. And I remember like, you know, some French dude walking by, and I stopped him like, "Hey, dude, what the fuck is going on right now? Like, these are all the same people that were here for the Cannibal show. Now they're all fucking raving. What's going on?" And this dude was just like, you know, in like the snootiest French, and he was cool, but he was like, you know, that typical kind of French snob accent. He was just like, "Oh, here in Montreal, we love all music." And I was like, "Okay, dude, more power to you. You know, fucking have fun. We're out." Um, that
We
was
did
a
our
highlight.
job.
That was a highlight of the tour. And then Dan Kenny, I mean, he was just full of fucking highlights the whole time. He was hilarious. Being in 7-Eleven in Regina, however it's pronounced. Yeah, we're just all walking through 7-Eleven at 3 a.m. buying our shit, and I just hearing Dan Kenny's voice go to the girl that worked there. He's like, "You guys have mayonnaise in Regina?" And fucking all of us just fucking
Harry
killed us.
Carey
It was
style,
amazing.
dude. Totally Harry Carey style.
He didn't.
Or Will Ferrell doing Harry Carey.
Yeah.
He wasn't very good at selling merch, but he was great at the drinking everybody's beer and being hilarious.
Yeah.
He was good at passing out carnivorous demos.
Oh, I heard one show, Cannibal was playing, and they're playing. They're about to play Skull Full of Maggots, and Dan had their set, you know, memorized by this point. And George Corpse Grinder was up there. "All right, everybody, here's our next song," and yelled or tried to yell "Skull Full of Maggots," but like his voice cracked during maggots. Oh, so good. And like everybody at the show kind of like heard it. They like turned, looked like, "What the fuck?"
Fucking damn, dude. All right, sorry. There's still more though. Troy, this one's specifically to you. What was the biggest difference with Carnivorous and Severed Savior?
Biggest difference?
Biggest difference between the two brands. Brands, dude.
The singer.
Yeah, I'm like music or just my playing. I don't
Just
know.
I would say that like
It was a totally different band,
when you
right?
think of yourself playing with Carnivorous, you think of yourself playing with Severed Savior. What do you notice a difference between the two?
Well, okay, so here's one thing that was cool about it at the time was that so in Severed, there's, you know, the writing process is kind of always on a journey for finding, you know, the right notes, the right beats, the right vocal patterns, and there wasn't a, you know, like a 100% like style. There wasn't a framework that we couldn't go out of, but there was a lot of things that I liked, bands that I was listening to, things that I would like to do that just didn't fit. So with Carnivorous, I had more freedom to kind of experiment with those types of I don't know, beats or ideas or whatever, and play things that I couldn't do in Severed. So that was one nice difference. That was a lot of fun. But it was I don't know.
Yeah, I would say that, yeah, if you were to compare the two, like we were definitely more loose and more open to, you know, we were more elastic. We were also, you know, young guys looking at, we're like, dude, we have fucking the drummer of Severed Savior in our band, dude. And this is back in like 2003, 4-ish.
Right.
And so although you know, you felt like you had your room, it's like we definitely were in the position of being like, Troy's input is very important too, you know? So what you would give back to us was what it was like we just like churned it like butter, you know? We just gave it back and forth. And then, but it was also like, you know, the structure of those songs is so chaotic, dude. If you really look at it, it was just like throwing riffs together and then get to a certain point where we're like, okay, let's play the beginning riff again to tie it all back, you know?
Mhm.
But it's really just like stacking riffs on top of each other. But it was still super fun, dude, and like catapulted us, you know, in the
Yeah.
directions that me and
Yeah.
Dan went as well. I wish that Carnivorous would have went further with the Ivan Dan Bohegan lineup, you know.
Right. Right.
Um,
Just
but
yeah,
yeah,
as I say that everything, timing is everything, and whatever
timing is
everything that's
everything,
going on in
dude.
everybody's individual lives and
Mm-hmm.
all kinds of stuff like that. Yeah, too much strife, things bleed in and stuff like that. But when not that I didn't have any input or didn't have any say or influence whatever in severed stuff, but one thing that was kind of cool was, like I said, with Carnivorous was was it just felt like I had more weight.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'm not a guitar player, and I've never been very good at coming up with riff ideas and stuff like that, but I like to have input on arrangement and those types of things. So yeah, that was, like you said, chaotic riff stacks, and then I'd be like, what if we did this? And you guys would be like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, let's try it,
Yeah.
and then so we'd shuffle the deck, play it
And
that
then,
way, and
and
then
then
be
when
like,
Dan left and Ivan came in, like it actually became more of like we were all really involved because like we came to you with those songs, the basic versions of those songs,
right,
you know, that I had just did some basic programming on the drum machine, you know, but then when Ivan came along and he started writing songs for the project too, like, and it was actually happening in the rehearsal studio versus like,
yeah.
you know, aside from being there. But
It's always that way when you first get involved with something that's already going. Like, you guys already had songs that you had been working on, that you had, like you said, drum machine drums too, and you had ideas, structure, arrangements in mind. And so it's like coming into something you rarely get the opportunity to fully play with them, or, like you said, deconstruct and rebuild them as much as maybe you might want to. So then you wait for the later music that you're a part of from the beginning to try to have more influence on.
mhm.
And but yeah, it's
Yeah,
really interesting to,
I
like,
always think about what would have happened if that band kept going. Like we were going in a different direction at the very end of that, you know.
it was right. It was
It was starting
definitely
to blossom a
separating
little
itself
bit.
from being
Yeah.
Severed Savior Light to being,
Yeah,
something
yeah. It
unique.
was it
Yeah,
was definitely blossoming.
yeah.
Um all right, so to steer it back to Severed again. Cannibal Corpse tour was a success for you guys, you know, and so talk a little bit about like what happened after that tour. Like you guys settled down, and I'm sure it became, you know, what, to take it back to what you were saying earlier, Gilbert, about how you like to spend time recording, writing music, you know.
Mhm.
And I remember hearing I think the earliest version of a Servile song was Spoils of War. You had did
Oh yeah, right.
you had did a really early version of that beginning riff, and then it actually stopped. Like that riff stopped. I remember there being a couple hi-hats and then going into a total different riff that wasn't on the final version of that
I
song.
actually kind of want to chime in a little bit because
Go for
remember,
it.
Gilbert, you were on the Harmony Central forums as M. Gilbert, and I had no
Yep.
idea who you were. And you posted what later became, was that the song he's referring to?
Yeah.
It was that
Yeah.
and I was like, who the hell is this guy? I thought you were just like, because we were just talking about amps on that forum.
Yeah.
And
Right.
you're like, oh, check out this little clip I did with, with some
A
sort of
V-amp.
with a
Behringer
V-amp.
V-amp.
Yeah, it sounded great. And I was like, who the hell is it? It totally, like, I had no idea who you were. I was like, this random forum kid is just writing this shit. Like, I was like super thrown off by it. Was that the first kind of idea going into that album, or?
Yeah, I think so. Anthony said that it went into a different riff, but it didn't. In that original clip, there's nothing in that original clip that wasn't in the final version. We just kind of like extended the beginning on the album version, and then there was a second clip that was what later became the song Servile Insurrection.
Okay.
That was just like the first, I don't know, 30 seconds of it or something. And we recorded that once I finished writing that song, which took forever. We recorded that song at some studio. I don't remember who he was. It was his name. I think his name was Joel too, wasn't it?
I hope so.
Something. Or Josh or something. He was a dude who was an aspiring engineer who had some studio time in the city that he was working on getting like a resume down or something, and we recorded the song Servile Insurrection, essentially how it is on the album, without the very ending part. We did that as a demo in 2005.
He was courting us to record the album with him, is what he wanted.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and he offered us some free studio time to demo. We're like, yeah, that'd be great. And I think it ultimately turned out well.
Yeah,
it wasn't that we didn't like working with him. We just ended up going.
Well, because it was like another 2 years later.
Yeah, it was just a long time. Yeah.
Yeah, but the whole in between time. That was when, the whole after the Cannibal tour, and in between that and when we originally started recording Servile, which was in August of 2007. That's when we were playing the most shows. That's when we were doing those double duty tours with Odious, Carnivorous, and Decrepit. And I forget the lineup. It was usually us headlining, Decrepit, Odious, and Carnivorous, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And we did like 3 or 4 mini tours like that, and then there was a couple mini tours where it was just us and Decrepit, I want to say.
And then there was also a mini tour with just Odious and Deeds.
Yeah.
Too.
And then we did a couple other little, West Coast things. I think one was with Obituary somehow, but that was crazy that happened.
Ended up at the Northwest Death Fest,
yeah,
or something like
cool.
that.
Yeah.
Studio 7 or something
So
like that.
the kid who was playing with us for 2003 and 2004, Sean, quit after the Cannibal tour, and we got Joe, that character, Joe from PA, Philadelphia, came out, and he did a couple tours, mini tours with us. I think you guys were there for that shit. And was there somebody else? I think there was a few people we had tried out, but it seemed like every time we had a moment of fucking spare time to start working on stuff, it was either spent showing somebody else the material to try to get them up to speed on it, or we were going out and doing another little mini tour or something, and just getting ready for that. So
just no real progression.
There was very little actual writing time between Brutality and Servile. Like, we didn't actually start writing the majority of the material for Servile until the year before that. And some of the songs on Servile were rewritten from the ground up several times. Like, we had them completely done, and then my OCD fucking just neuroses, and I'd just fucking completely deconstruct the song, take what I liked from it, throw it back together, and rearrange it, and until I was finally happy with it.
We go into the studio one day, and we put a bunch of riffs down and get 30 seconds of music and be like, yes. And then we go in the next day and work on it some more and get up to like a minute and a half or 2 minutes of music, and like, hell yeah. And then come in the next day, and Mike's like, I want to make a couple changes.
Yeah,
which basically meant I'm gonna throw out 9 riffs and keep 1.
Yeah.
Start over. Now we have 5 seconds of music again. Okay.
Yeah. A lot of time was wasted. I mean, I think the material came out better than it was originally, but we basically had like several songs pretty much written, and then I rewrote them several times until I was happy.
Some of them never got resurrected.
No.
Or maybe they got cannibalized and put into other songs or something. But yeah.
Well, the end of that process is like one of the greatest death metal albums of all time. Servile Insurrection is just so sick.
Thank
Like,
you.
I think it's like
I wish that were
scene-defining.
true, and I'm
No,
happy
it's
you feel that
absolutely
way.
No, it's true. It's true for me.
No.
It's definitely.
It's absolutely true. Everyone I
yeah.
know loves that album. Anyone who's ever
Yep.
been a fan of
See,
death
I
metal.
only,
All
I-
5 people.
yeah, I
Yeah,
only,
I don't know
you
too
know,
many people, but they all love it.
I only know what I, having written most of that material and hearing it, through the mixing and recording process. By the time that album came out, I'd heard those songs 15,000 times, and I was done with them. Like they were making me nauseous. I'd heard them so much. And, there's always that, I could have done this better. I could have done that better. I wish I could have written this part better or done something differently.
Yeah.
I'm proud, there are definitely parts that there's definitely parts that I'm proud of on that album. But I don't know. I've seen more bad reviews on that album, and in some cases I agree with them.
Come on.
It is what it
man.
is. I enjoy parts and other parts I'm like,
You guys should have
I've done that.
re-recorded. You guys should have re-recorded "Forced to Bleed" again, dude.
we recorded.
I know you didn't fuck the humans on that. You didn't fuck the humans, though,
So
right?
we
And Fecal
recorded.
and
And
Dead
Deadspeak.
Speak.
And Dead Speak.
So I talked them into re-recording "Force to Bleed" for a third time because the second one came out so shitty, and the first one just sounded like shit. The first one had better playing, sounded like shit. Second one sounded better, but the playing was a little sloppy. I talked them into doing it a third time, which they did not want to do. I think we did one or two takes on the drums, and I may have that somewhere, just like a rough mix of the drums. But we did try to do it. Drums again, and we did one or two takes in that, and it never, happened again. It's funny. Fecal Philiac, part of the main reasons, one of the main selling points of re-recording that song was that there's a section where Troy's just doing a caveman beat, ticket, right?
Caveman beat.
And on the ride, it's just a simple ride, slow ride hit.
I know that one.
And we never played it like that. Like we wrote it like that originally, and then
Barely finished writing it when we recorded it on the demo, and then it was just,
by the time we were playing it live, I talked Troy into playing like a Sean Reinert kind of ride beat over that same beat. So the feet and the hands were and the snare were still doing the same thing, but you had the kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And then he added the little right, little flare at the end. So I think that was the first song that we recorded when we tracked drums, and
with the easy ones,
and we didn't. It was the first song we recorded when we tracked drums, because we realized later that we didn't have the a mic over his ride, and the whole point of re-recording that song was to get the cool ride beat in there, to get like the best version of that song on tape, which was with that ride beat. And later, when we're mixing it, Troy's like, motherfucker, that fucking beat. The whole reason we recorded that song again was to get that beat in there, and there was no mic on that ride. We forgot.
It was like, I think we specifically said like, I need a ride mic. Oh no, the overheads will pick it up. Like, no, I need a ride mic because we're gonna have some intricate stuff, And then I think the mic was there but wasn't on or something like that.
So you can hear in that recording in Servile, you can hear just faintly some cool ride work he was doing, but on other songs the ride is clear as day.
Got it turned on for the rest of the album, but just not that one.
Because like you want to have different levels of the overheads, like versus that one sound, so like if you turn up all the overheads, it's gonna like so you want that. It makes sense. Yeah, totally, dude. I love that song "Acts of Sedition." That shit's sick. I was like revisiting all of it, and like I listened to that album like 3 times I think yesterday. And I love that, like acoustic intro. It's so sick, and I love
dude.
that song "Acts of Sedition" is just to me just like what the hell. That was like so.
I have a
cool.
question on that song too, but
Go for it.
Go ahead,
it's-
dude. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all
So
say.
I wanted to know, Troy, were you
No
doing
questions.
yeah,
sorry.
singles on the kick drum throughout that album?
For
Servile?
doing singles,
Like singles on your kick pedals?
I would.
Single strokes.
Yeah, single strokes or
Oh,
He
you,
single
didn't.
strokes.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about like single foot blast. I was like, I'd love to be
oh yeah.
Yeah.
good enough to.
I don't think the whole
If-
fucking the shifty foot double stroke thing was even a
That
thing.
wasn't a thing. Yeah, it was
Putting
not.
out the cigarette.
Because there's a part on
Swivel
Acts of
us.
Sedition. There's that part where it's like when and like the kick
Wait,
drum's
what-
like it's just so
do,
fast.
do
It's
that
like
part
the,
again.
Do it again. I forgot what it was.
you know the part. It's a lead
Oh,
guitar.
the solo. Okay, the little
little
5-second
lead.
solo.
Lead,
Yeah.
And the kick drum is it's so
Yeah.
fast. It's insane. Yeah.
I told Casey that solo is actually done in the acoustic part. He didn't,
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Troy can play super fast, even with singles. I've seen it in person.
That's what I want to know is that like
He's super fast. Like he does that hyper thing. Where I don't know what
Like
you do.
a
You just like it's like just you go for it. It's
Caveman
crazy.
Twitch method.
Yeah.
This
Yeah,
is called-
caveman Twitch.
Twitching in time.
There's
we got this
That's
is
funny.
It was,
the styles of Severed Savior is the caveman twitch and the Jedi grind.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
right.
Oh, the
I
Jedi
forgot
grind
about
for
that.
sure.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
no,
So
the,
okay, go ahead. Sorry.
oh, so yeah, I was
Explain
gonna say
the
along
Twitch.
my path of trying to get faster feet,
mhm.
I had used to play the Pearl Power Shifter Eliminators or something. I loved those pedals, but everybody was playing Axis. I eventually was brought over to the dark side by Michael Hamilton and bought a
Yep.
pair of pedals from him, and then had to learn how to play again. So I started trying to do heel down, which is essentially what it was. So instead of just like holding my legs up and twitching fast, I was planting my heels and doing it that. So it was really just like sit really high and far away from the kit, not be able to reach anything else.
He would lean back in his stool. I remember
Yeah.
watching him, like his stool. He'd go back on like the back two legs or however many legs are on a fucking drum stool.
Yeah.
But he would lean back in that shit and just kind of like heel down, fucking double bass shit.
It's from riding the recumbent bike at the gym. No, but yeah, I'd have to push the bass drums out like super far so I could have the toms and everything close to me, and then I would just like grit my teeth and do it that way, and it was a lot of work. So I was glad when like swivel and double strokes came along. I've never really mastered them to the level I wanted to. In order, doubles definitely weren't a thing yet, but I think swivel was around, but I didn't have
can't-
it down enough to try to record with it yet. So it was
Yeah.
just basically
The
like, I was
swivels where you
stroking
see the
set.
heel flopping around behind it.
yeah.
The swivel's fine. I actually really can't do doubles with my feet. I can do my right foot like fine, but like my left foot is like not down. Like doubles. It works for singles. It's like, yeah, I got it. But the doubles thing, I don't know. I could do it like slow and all that, but it's like blows me away. People just like shred that kind of style.
And
But
they get so fast at it that's almost not even like
yeah,
you can almost like some people are so fast at that shit now that you
Yeah.
can't even hear any separation. It just sounds like a
it's
fucking
insane. Like long
Yeah.
stress
buzz saw
Yeah,
or something.
they're so good.
No,
Yeah,
I
at
like
it.
that
Just-
sound of the slower.
Yeah.
What? So like, what speed would like early Deeds of Flesh be? 210 to 15,
Probably.
something like that.
Depends on the song. Yeah,
I like
really
that.
know
That the double bass
But-
at that speed is just so much more powerful. And
Well,
like,
Callias is all singles, really, isn't he? I think he still. I mean, I don't know. I think
He's
that
like a heel up, like
yeah, it's kind of how
single.
I'm more of a heel up dude. But yeah, I like to experiment. But dude, I just remember like your guys' old rehearsal studio and coming and hanging out and playing on your kit and kind of like Mike. We jammed one time. We did Fecophiliac one
Yeah.
time. You know, I didn't really know it that well. I was just kind of trying. You know.
Yeah, that was fun.
And I remember
Yeah,
playing on
dude.
your kit. Yeah, I was like super stoked, dude.
RHL
That was so fun.
represent RHL.
Is that what
Same
it
place
was
we
called?
built that tour bus.
Okay, yeah, totally. Yeah, and then but I remember like hanging out there and like seeing you guys jam and like Troy, you would like do that like super just it's like I don't know, I called it like a hyper blast with your like you would just your feet would just start you just like would go for it, you know. It was pretty cool. I don't know. That's what I remember. It's just you
So
would just
Mike, with the who was it? You or Paul Ryan with the Jedi grind? Let's clear
yeah.
some-
Paul Ryan, he does something.
Does he do
it's not-
something? I think he still does the 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 Jedi grind kind
I
of
don't know. I don't know. You know,
Let's say Murray coined it.
Murray coined. I started doing it
Mhm.
just randomly at practice. I was just trem picking,
Yeah.
getting tired, and I found a way to do it where I could bend my wrist, and it's almost like Marty Friedman kind of
Oh, that's right.
almost like a Marty Friedman. Fuck, can't get that low. Hold on. Almost like a Marty Friedman thing where your wrist is, there's a super pick slant to it, so you're slanting like this. It's a different group of muscles, so it was to give my normal trem picking muscles a break.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, you can't palm mute when doing it, but I could fucking play, as fast as I wished I could play normal trem picking with that shit with very little effort. So it was kind of a cheat in a way, and it sounded different because you're not palm muting it. It sounded more grindy, but Murray adopted it early on. He was like, what, he saw me do it like on the first night. He's like, what the fuck is that shit? And then like the second night, he started working on it, and he got it down pretty quickly, and he called it the Jedi grind. And I remember seeing Paul Ryan play, and he doesn't, it's different. Like I remember just watching him do something kind of similar, but it was more like it was almost like trem picking where he was floating. It wasn't
Yeah.
it wasn't the same kind of fucking weird contorted fucking motion that I was doing. But
Murray's whole animated thing about it was he'd bring his hand up. I'm gonna get my hand in frame here. Bring his hand up and then like
oh yeah.
Yeah, it was like super.
Like
He'd bring
shaking the tea
bring his
bag,
hand up in the
kinda.
air, and yeah,
Yeah.
bring his hand up in the air and be like, and then down. it goes.
There's a couple of cool videos online of looking down the stage when it was just me and
Pound.
Murray playing.
The
Yeah, I think the
Pound.
Pound show.
Yeah.
There's a couple of moments where whoever was filming zoomed in on like both of our hands kind of like in a row, and we're both doing the Jedi grind at the same time and flying doing it, and it was pretty awesome. Like just to have that captured.
You should have tried to palm mute with your elbow and just
I've witnessed Mike use his elbow very strategically in a riff. He'd be like,
yeah, I used to stop it, do a stop or hit a note with the elbow. I was able to play one time. Yeah. At one time I was able to play, and it wasn't anything planned. It was just kind of like Murray and Dusty just kind of like trying to test me on shit, like see if you can do this. And I was able to play fecal philiac with my forearm, just going like this up and down the neck. I didn't know it could be done. Like I knew the notes. I wrote the riff, and I put my forearm on there, and it worked. It was just one freak thing. I don't know if I've ever done it since then.
Oh my god!
But
you go viral if you did that. I'm just saying.
I don't know.
Cheers to bony forearms. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
That's awesome, man. That's so awesome.
Can you guys talk more about the recording of Servile Insurrection and like the tones you got for it and hardware
What would you
and
like
everything
to
that went
know?
into it? Well, someone on the questions said, like, what guitars did you use? What amps? That kind of stuff.
Did you fractal it?
Yes. So this is to even though I'd like to think I've lost the majority of what ego I've had in the past. I'd like to think I've lost most of it. I'm not a fucking narcissist anymore. I would still like to toot my own horn and say that as far as I know, Servile Insurrection was the first death metal album recorded with the Fractal Axe effects.
Nice.
This was in 2007. And
Yeah.
that's when I had the very first Fractal Axe effects standard. There wasn't the Ultra yet. It was firmware version 4.05. And halfway through, or actually, for those of you that don't know,
I don't even know.
I finished recording the album. I recorded all guitars and bass at my house, and I recorded the entire album, and then turned it on one day to start working on the leads, and realized that I lost every single file except for maybe 15 seconds of inverted and inserted.
Because of the firmware update?
I was learning. I was learning how to use Cubase as I was recording, and somehow I had set my the location that all of my files, all of my tracks were being stored in my fucking documents on my desktop instead of in my folder that I had set aside for all these tracks. So I was somehow saving project files, or like the names of the files, like each song was its own file folder in where it was supposed to be, but all of the tracks were actually being recorded in a random folder in my documents. And I just remember like being stoned one day and going through my documents and saying, why do I have fucking 30 gigs in my documents on my desktop? Get rid of that shit. And I just fucking deleted it.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So I actually paid a service to pick up my hard drive and try to recover all of the files. And the only thing that they were able to fucking recover were some fucking porno pictures I had. And that was it. That like I got my hard drive back, and like 150 nudie girl pictures, and some of the tracks from fucking Inverted and Inserted. And those tracks were recorded with firmware version
Inverted and Inserted plus porn.
Yeah.
Yes.
You guys were like, damn, dude, those must have been some important pictures.
Yeah, I still have them, by the way. You don't throw that shit away. Come on, dude. We all save that shit.
Those are located in the
Planned, though. Doesn't
we
that
have
sound
those-
planned? The one song called Inverted and Inserted is the only one that's saved with all
and
the porn.
those pictures are below in the description if you guys need them.
Yeah.
So what tracks were left were maybe 15, 20 seconds at the most of Inverted, the second song on the album. And that was recorded with version 4.05 of the original Axe Effects. I had upgraded to 4.06 and recorded the rest of the album like that, not knowing or even thinking that the sound would be changed. So there's a couple of sections in Inverted, if you're listening with headphones, where there's a little bit less high end on the guitars. And those were the only surviving original tracks.
How did you find out about Fractal and doing all? How did you? Was that?
Dude, I was a fucking hardcore gear, like just.
Yeah.
I mean, just.
Harmony Central and all that stuff.
Yeah, in the early 2000s, I spent more time fucking with gear and researching gear than actually playing the instrument.
No, that started in the 90s.
Okay, well, yeah.
You were always on a mission.
Had that Digitech.
Yeah. I had a GSP 2101, which was the original.
Is that the purple one? Or okay.
No, it looked just like the original Axe Effects, but it was the Digitech unit.
Yeah.
Stays crunchy even in milk.
Yep.
That was a killer tone.
Yes. So I was always a gearhead. I'd heard. So I had the Behringer V-Amp 2, which was just a cheap version of a pod, but it was $99 and it sounded killer. Yeah. And I thought it sounded better than the pod sounds that I was hearing. And that's what I recorded some of those clips on Harmony Central with. And then I got Engel stuff. I got for the Cannibal tour, I had the Engel E580. It was the chrome plated preamp that was a MIDI controllable, but like all the dials were LED lights around them.
I remember that.
And it looked like kind of like the Terminator without his skin. And then I sold that, bought the Engel E570 special edition preamp, which is a fucking awesome preamp. But when I saw, what I was seeing when Fractal first came out, I was so impressed with the technology, and the dude Cliff Chase who designed it was coming out with updates all the time. You buy this one unit and twice a month you're getting new amp models, new cabinets, microphones. He was constantly improving the technology, which I really appreciated. I got one in mid spring. It was really close to when it first came out, and was able to get some pretty decent tones out of it. Like the flexibility of the variety of tones you could get from it. It was vastly superior to the Behringer V amp that I had been using.
We actually recorded the Odious kitchen demo. Was a Behringer preamp. It was the blue Behringer, and it sounds. We actually
sounded killer.
Yeah, we actually got a Matt send it to us a couple months ago, and listening to it again, I'm like, the tone is amazing. Like for just random direct in preamp, it's sounding great. Yeah.
Yeah, we uploaded it on YouTube. It's on like my personal channel. Like like the demo tracks. We kind of revisited that,
great.
and it's pretty cool. Like it's good tone.
I think at the time, this is 2000, early 2000 or mid 2007, early 2007, whatever. I was so impressed with just the idea of having a modeling unit that could now sound pretty good, and that I could just record with that. We'd just done the demo version for Servile, the song Servile Insurrection at a studio, and my rig was the Engel E570, a VHT 252 power amp, and a Mesa Recto cabinet. And the tone was good, but I thought I was getting better tones at home just plugged in direct. And I also knew I'd have more time and luxury of recording, not being under the time crunch in a studio, if I could do it at home on my own. So with the Fractal unit, I found the amp that I liked to record with was the Solo 100, which was based on a Soldano. The cabinet was a Mesa Recto cabinet model that was mixed with so it was a vintage 30 cabinet, and then I mixed it with a T75 cabinet, which they're totally two different sounding cabinets that blend really well together. I used a model of an SM57 mic and a Royer 121, I think it was. And I pretty much set the EQ flat. Like I knew that I didn't want to set it too close to how I thought it should sound, because then I figured once we got it in the mixing process, we'd have to re-EQ the shit out of it. So I just set pretty much all the knobs at 12 o'clock for the most part, or really close to 12 o'clock. And by itself, the tone I didn't think was that good. But once I tracked a separate track and panned them hard left and right, I thought it sounded pretty good.
What kind of pickups are in that? Those aren't EM. They look kind of like EMGs from here, but they're not EMGs, right?
No. So the guitar I used for that album was this Jackson SLS MG, which is a Japanese-made Jackson that is also neck through. It has a great fucking heel. You can see I've recently stripped off all the lacquer and oiled it, just because that feels better to me. But it was they are APC pickups, which were, I was a member of the Jackson Charvel forum back in the day, and I saw a bunch of people raving about these APC pickups that were made by Mel Lace, the guy who designed the original Lace, and I guess his brother, I forget his name, actually owned the patents for them. So there was like a falling out or something where his brother kept the Lace sensor designs, and Mel, the original designer, came up with his own company. And they were the first passive pickups that I thought rivaled EMGs for the output and clarity and tightness. And they're very low noise too, somehow. So this is a Persuader lead, and this is a Syrinx, which I only used, I think, for the solo on Dead Speak, on the album. Everything else was recorded with this pickup. I can't think of anything else in particular gear wise.
Awesome, man.
That's
Yeah.
pretty detailed. That's pretty sick.
Cool. Thanks.
Yeah. What about so we touched on the drum recording process, but is there more to say about that? I mean, that was at Castle Ultimate with Zach Oren, right?
Yeah. And my vocals
nice,
were also
yeah.
done with Zach.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Zach's
And then
great.
Yeah.
We recorded the drums, drum tracking with Zach.
and
I
me.
recorded the guitars and bass
Oh.
and acoustic guitars at my house.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then we brought all that back to Zach, and me and him mixed everything together, and we recorded Anthony's vocals with Zach.
Yeah, which was a little different than Cryptic. It was in the same place that we did Cryptic, but I did Cryptic in the open room, but I did Servile in the vocal booth. I don't know why we did it differently, but I don't know if that booth was even there. But it was the same excuse me. Same building that we did it in before he moved. But yeah, dude, I don't know what mic I recorded Servile on. It was actually like up until I got this mic right here. I really liked that mic, but this one I did synesthesia on. I really like this one. What is this?
SM7B, something like that.
Yeah. I know I'm trying to talk gear with you guys, but really, I don't even know.
How about working with Par Olofsson for the artwork?
That was
whose decision was that?
I don't remember who originally suggested him. I want to say we saw some artwork that he had done on an album and liked it. I did all the like communication with him,
And the
and
idea, yeah.
he, I had the idea of doing like I essentially wanted it to be like a double helix of like DNA, but having each link being like skeletons or something, right? And he put his spin on it, and there's a part on the upper middle right that's like some other structure that originally, like Murray pointed out, dude, that looks like a fucking elephant. And it did. Like once you saw, it was one of those things, once you see it, you can't unsee it. Like there was like an ear, like an elephant ear and a trunk, and like we couldn't unsee it. So I started telling Par, I'm like, dude, like everything's going great, but that thing on the top right looks like a freaking elephant, and we can't like get it out of our mind. And he's like, okay, changes, and it just wasn't happening. And it got to, pretty sure he was pretty pissed off, because he was like, look, he sent me an email or something. And he was like, look, I'm not fucking changing it anymore. You're gonna either fucking buy it as it is,
Dude,
or I'm gonna sell it to somebody else.
I'm
or
not
something.
I'm not trying to just be a dick and cut you off, but it's so funny because this is reminding me of Cryptic. You guys remember what I'm talking about, Joel and Casey? Yep. Look at Joel, the butthole, dude.
That was my when I first saw it. I think it was the first one. Can you pull it up, Casey? I think Casey's almost got it. It was the original.
Really
Come on,
doesn't
dude. Relax. It's good, dude. We're not, hey, this is all part of the process.
Did Par do that album
Nobody's
cover?
gonna
Yeah,
see
he
it.
did.
Okay, that may be where we saw it, and we're like, oh, this guy's pretty sick. We should look
It's
into
really
him.
dope. We really love the final, but
Yeah.
what people don't know is that when you're making an album cover with somebody else as the artist, there's times
And he
you
was
get
still-
elephants, sometimes you get buttholes.
and all right, and it was Casey. I think it was Casey's idea originally, where it was just like, dude,
Not the butthole, but
Earth. Yeah, no, not that, dude. I'm saying Earth becomes conscious, just starts imploding on everything, starts pulling structures in. This is what we're gonna have. Well, obviously there's an origin spot where that implosion starts to happen, and Par's
An orifice.
one of his early, not his first, because I think he gave us like 2, 3, 4 different drafts or whatever ideas, and then when it started getting closer to what we want, all of a sudden I'm like, dude, it looks like a butthole. Like there's like multiple.
I don't know if we told him that. I mean, we were kind of like,
didn't. No, we didn't. We were
well,
just
because
like,
I remember seeing it for the first time and just being like, having like the, oh fuck yeah, and then like all of a sudden my mouth was just like, had this half smile, I'm like, oh shit, dude, it's like a butthole. Like I was like, and like I remember like trying to like, can we like fill that hole somehow?
I still have that version in my
Yeah.
email somewhere, dude.
There's like veins in it
But
and
yeah,
stuff.
no,
and,
that-
yeah.
And obviously he's not. His point wasn't trying to make it look like a butthole, but it
Yeah.
did.
Well, shout out to Par, because Par like actually, I think he might have even reached out to us and was like a death metal fan and was like, hey, I like you guys, I want to give you a deal. And now I guess his stuff is like insanely expensive. But
Oh,
like,
really?
Let me set
was-
the
it was
record
like-
straight.
yeah,
Oh, no.
let's hear it.
Let me set the record
Let's
straight.
hear it. Yeah,
Okay.
I don't have the image and I'm not going to put it on, but the whole thing is,
Dude, that would
I
be
don't.
ratings, dude.
I looked. I don't have it. But the point is that it was like, you know, like the artwork of Cryptic ended up being basically like this like volcano looking thing, and then it comes out and it's like devouring all the rocks and stuff, and it's like a volcano kind of thing, whatever. But yeah, the original thing was like
It totally looks like a butthole.
like it was like a black hole.
Yeah,
And yeah, so it was
There's
like
no saving it, dude. From now, you can't save it now.
I know. I'm just saying. I'm trying
No,
to
no.
describe artistically.
Yeah, for sure. No.
Anyways,
I know what you're trying to do.
why?
We're
Okay,
not. Okay, the point
is
is
fun,
we're
but we
not
should-
at all saying anything bad about Par.
Yeah.
Par's an
He's
amazing.
amazing.
an
we're trying to talk
amazing
about
artist.
Severed, and we're
Yeah.
getting into
Yeah,
this
we're
whole-
getting off into the weeds.
So let's go back to Severed. So yeah,
Oh,
it's great
elephants.
artwork. It's, are you guys?
it
like,
really is.
Are you guys?
Yeah.
Mike, do you have any new songs or anything that you're writing, or any like new ideas, or just creative projects that you're working on, or like
No.
or Troy too? No.
Well, no, next
have-
question.
I have I get inspired every once in a while, and I'll start writing something just in my head
Yeah.
that I'm like, oh, I gotta fucking it's time. I gotta do this, and then it's gone. Like the next
Yeah.
day, it's gone. No idea what it was. There's some riffs that I've had that I've been sitting on for years that I never really could find the right
Part four or
outlet.
something.
Yeah, just the right outlet or whatever to put them in. For at least a few years I didn't even play, probably from
Mhm.
2008 to 2000. So 2008, after Servile came out, I stopped playing. My wrist was fucked up. I went through some shit with a relationship that destroyed me at the time, and I stopped playing. I lost it. Like I lost the desire to play. When I tried to play, it was too fucking painful. My wrist was all fucked up. And it was, probably it was from 2008 when that came out until we started rehearsing for the reunion tour in 2012. I didn't play. And during that time, I had plenty of nightmares about being ready to play, like, or ready to go on stage. Like, are you guys fucking ready? We're on next. And
Dude.
you're all fucking suited
I
up.
had one too.
Oh,
nights
man.
ago.
That
Yeah.
happens to me all the
God.
time.
Dude, and all you can think of
Dude.
is I haven't played this shit in years. I don't have the stamina. My stamina is
Dude.
fucking gone. I can remember playing the riffs in my head, but can I still fucking play them? And we're about
Yeah.
to play this shit in front of people. Like, what? How did this even happen? And that, I'd have that recurring nightmare for
Jesus,
probably
that's
the
so
whole
funny.
time.
I actually had that.
Totally.
I have that written down, and to what to like bring up as like a funny thing is, I actually had 2
Yeah.
nights ago. I had a nightmare that, because I probably had to do with this podcast and having to talk to you guys, that I got thrown on stage with you guys.
Mhm.
And I think I was second guitar, And I was like, dude, I've never practiced these songs. Like, I don't
Yeah,
even,
right.
like, I know how these
Yeah,
songs
yeah.
go.
It's weird.
And
Dude. Like,
I've done so many shows and tours with you guys that never happened in my dreams. Like,
dude, why? Yeah,
Crazy.
my version
Insane.
is I'm on stage with Odious. You guys start playing brand new material that I don't even know. I'm trying to freestyle through the whole entire thing, and then when the set's done, I get off stage and I'm in line for the Superman ride at fucking Magic Mountain.
exactly.
That's
how it
fucking
works.
crazy.
Yeah, I think it happens to everyone.
So, hey, Mike, have you heard about this? Like, Al Di Meola, like,
Yes.
on his like Instagram, he has
Yeah,
like hosts.
Yeah,
that
I was
Oh,
been
yeah.
thinking
thing.
about how I could fucking piece together the money, but
Dude, me and my friend Richard are like super into it. We could go play some.
now
Let's like do it. Let's all pitch, man.
I probably never told you this, but I met him a few times and hung out with him
Oh,
backstage.
really? Nice.
So
Oh, shit.
He's
it was one of those. I'd like to think that we all have these moments in our lives that make us cringe so bad that we feel sick and say to ourselves, God, what a fucking fanboy, fucking annoying dork
Yeah.
I was to this, famous person. So in 1998, I want to say 98 or 99, he played 5 shows in a row at Yoshi's in Oakland. And I went to all 5 shows. Actually, no, I went to 4 of 5, but each night there were 2 shows. So multiple of those
Jesus.
nights that I went, I saw both shows. And each time I was front and fucking center, right in front of him. And after each song, to be like this, and I'd be just fucking growling at the top of my lungs. Yeah, yeah. And it got to the point where they, I must have annoyed the shit out of them.
Yeah.
And at one point, Al Di Meola, one night when our buddy Paul Ponikoff that used to play bass with us in high school, he had an amazing growl. He had one of the deepest, most guttural growls. And he went with me, and he was a fan too. And it was the 2 of us sitting next to each other right in front of fucking Al Di Meola. And in between each song, it doesn't matter if it was a fucking intense progressive song or some light fucking elevator shit. As soon as that song was over, and he, at one point,
Oh, that's
he just
funny,
kind of
dude.
looked down at us and was like nodding his head.
It's like, what?
And
Oh man.
and he's like, sorry guys, some of my fans are apparently cavemen. And
That's a great response.
yeah, and at
That's
one
amazing.
point, they must have worked it out with the sound man or something, because at one point, on the 5th night, I think it was, I was doing my growl thing at him in between songs, and he looked at me and he's like, yeah. And he started like trying to do his own little growl.
Oh, really?
The sound man cranked the reverb up way high on the final one. So he would
Yeah.
growl and I'd growl right back at him. And then he'd fucking, yeah. And he'd like, as he could.
That's so
And then the
good.
last one, the sound man cranked the reverb up. So it was just like, kind of like,
Nice,
bellowed
dude.
throughout the place.
Jesus, dude.
And I
that's
just,
so
I was like,
sick.
okay. I
Was
left
that
it at
Oakland? You said Yoshi's Oakland.
Yoshi's in Oakland.
Okay, because the
Um,
Yoshi's in San Francisco is no longer.
Well,
that's where
I
saw him.
saw. Yeah, you saw him at Yoshi's. In
I saw
SF?
him at Yoshi's San
Yeah.
Francisco too. Yeah,
I saw him
I
that
don't know
one
if
night.
I saw
It
him
was
at the same time.
well. I one night I went there and I saw him with Chase and Richard. It was like random. I don't know
Random.
why. It was just the 3 of us. We somehow, yeah. And the power went out, and basically it was like
Oh, wow.
like so they kept trying to go back on stage, and the power kept going out, and there was like a storm and all this kind of
Like
stuff.
the
and then-
Jumping Turtle. What was that place that our shit
yeah,
kept on
yeah,
going on
in San
on us?
Marcos. Yeah, totally. Yeah, but like he basically came up and he's like, all right, we're just gonna play everything acoustically, and he's like, this will be another night to remember in San Francisco, haha. And
Totally.
we're just like, yeah, it was
Yeah.
great.
Fuck yeah.
And of course they played Mediterranean Sundance and all that kind of
Well, I
stuff.
saw, yeah, because I saw him on
Yeah.
a Friday night, and he was like, "We're gonna play some Friday night in San Francisco for you guys tonight."
I guess he
that
kind
we're
of
not
like,
gonna
he kind of
get
milks
tomorrow
that.
night.
Yeah.
Yeah, he milks that one
so
for sure.
fucking.
But
he's
still,
like
dude, to
a
catch him
legend,
on
dude.
Friday night in
Goddamn.
San Francisco, it's like
He's,
Yeah.
It's awesome.
he's
It-
giving us that memory every
it's
time.
it's not. It's just an honor, dude. He's so fucking badass.
I don't know if you remember, but I
Shreds
saw
so hard.
I saw him with it was Stanley Clark and John Ponte, and
Red of Strings.
Yep. And I at the winery, Saratoga Mountain Winery, I want to say it was. And I had to go visit, or had to go. I was going to go visit my father in New Mexico the next day. And so my mom was the one who got me into him to start off. So she was, when I was a little kid, she's like, dude, Friday night, San Francisco, blah, blah, blah. Check this. You like guitar? Check this shit out, kind of thing. And so we went and saw him in Saratoga. And she's dropping me off at San Jose Airport. And I open my door and I look up and I hit this guy. And it's fucking Al Di Meola, dude. With these like white like fluffy pants on. He's on the cell phone. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm all, mom, dude, look. And she's like, what the fuck? And so I get in line to get in my flight, and Stanley Clark, Jean-Luc Ponty, and Al Di Meola are all on my plane.
Wow.
Like, yeah, I'm
you
standing.
have like you have a running.
I know
of that.
Yeah, no, it's happened.
Celebrity rock stars on your plane.
I had in front of me was standing in line at Southwest was Stanley Clark with his stand-up bass case and everything, just like they're all moving it together, like right in front of me, and I'm just sitting there just going like, what the fuck? I'm trying to like not be super fanboy and annoy him, but I'm like, dude, Stanley Clark's in front of me in this line right now, and is like the most massive amount of gear. I'm like, there's probably no room for anyone else's stuff. Like, I don't know. It was just one of those things where, just never forget. I remember someone yelled "Freebird" at that show at Al Di Meola, and I don't think I've ever seen him laugh. He laughed for like a good 6 minutes, like in front of everyone. He's all "Freebird." Like I thought it was.
That's so funny.
Yeah. No, he's one of a kind. He's one of a kind.
So two more quick side note things about me embarrassing myself with Al Di Meola or in front of him. I was hitting him up like almost every other song. I'd be like, hey, let me get your pick, so he'd throw me the pick. And I don't know, after 3 or 4 nights of doing that shit, he just, I think at one point just grabbed like a handful of them and just fucking chucked them at me. So
I was gonna say, I was like, damn, dude, you're that guy.
So
that guy?
so here's
right there, you got him.
I've got
nice, dude.
I've got fucking like
30.
I've got like 20 of these picks. DeAndrea, Al Di Meola.
Big.
And I remember
it looks like they have a lot of energy, dude.
At the time I was, we were doing Where still, me, Troy, and Paul. This was before Severed, and we had just recorded our last demo recording. Pretty proud of it, as shitty as it was. And I remember Paul was like, dude, we got to bring it to the show tonight. Give to fucking Di Meola. I'm like, you sure, dude? He's like, yeah. So we fucking, cause he was hella chill. He would let it, people come back backstage after the show, like 15 people or so, and just hang out with him for like half hour or something. I remember like giving him the tape, and I think this was the final night. And we actually, they popped open a bottle of champagne. It was just me, Paul, our friend Neil, Al Di Meola, his percussionist Goombi Ortiz, and the drummer Ernie Adams, I think. And they actually gave us fucking glasses of champagne too, which was pretty awesome. Dude. And I remember fucking Di Meola was kind of sitting in like a lazy boy recliner kind of thing. And this was like half hour after I'd given him the tape, and you're gonna listen to it, right? He's like, oh yeah. And then he gets up, and the tape is on the recliner, in the seat, kind of in the crack of the seat. I remember looking at him going, hey, what do you do with that tape there, dude? And he's like, oh. And he grabs it, and he fucking, that shit went in the garbage can as soon as I fucking turned around.
But it's still the feeling of giving that to somebody who you look up to.
Yeah. It was total crap. I don't know. It was okay. It was okay for what it was, but compared to his shit, it was fucking
I just
crap.
listened to Where last night, and I was fucking rocking out in my fucking living room, bro. I don't give a fuck what you guys say, dude. That's my favorite shit, dude.
Jesus Christ. Okay.
No, not my literally favorite shit, but I'm saying
oh,
as a high school band, out of all the high school bands that I've heard, Fuck yeah. That's my favorite high school band, bro.
And to back it up, I would go over to Anthony's house and he would be like, "Dude, check this shit out. This is remember, Troy and fucking well, I forgot your name for 3 seconds, Mike. I always called you Fitzpatrick. Troy and Mike from Severed Savior. Like, dude, this is their high school band, dude. And you just throw it on your TV. You throw it on your TV.
Yep, I fucking rock it out in my fucking surround sound, bro.
Oh, it's a surround sound.
My neighbors know where more than anybody else right now.
Right.
Yeah, it was crazy, man. I think you should just put it on the internet.
I want to re-record that shit. I want to do vocals on that.
It was ambitious without like the talent. Like we're
Shut
more
up.
ambitious.
So
No.
why you gotta say it like that? Like, no, for real. Like, there's so much talent on that, dude.
It was okay.
Lie. You can't lie.
No, it was okay for like kids. It was all right. It just wasn't
Yeah.
anything.
That's what I'm
Compared
saying.
to especially like the shit that's coming out the last 10
Dude,
years.
I
like,
was
it
in
okay.
a new metal band at that time. Okay, I was
Yeah.
rapping over metal riffs that were going dance, dance to dance, dance,
Yeah.
dance to dance. Okay, so then I listened to Where, and I'm like, yeah, that's what you're supposed to be doing in high school.
How do you find Where's music? I'm like trying to find
You
it.
find it by
You
Can't.
you find it from these
Just-
guys.
From Anthony's iPod.
Anthony.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. My iPod. That's why I asked earlier in the podcast. Do you guys have it? Because if I lose that iPod, I don't have it anymore.
Damn.
I have it.
Oh.
I've
Yeah, he's got
I've brought
Troy's
up
got all of it.
putting it online multiple
Alright.
times, but I get shot down. So
I primarily don't like the last demo that we had that had vocals. I thought it was better without vocals. It is worth noting that one of Ware's songs ended up being completely butcherized and cannibalized and turned into the song Question.
That's why I want
but it
people
kept-
to hear that.
We kept the name. The reason why, I'm sure there were some people that, saw Servile track listing and go, Question, why the fuck would, after the previous song titles, why the fuck would they come out with a song named Question? That's stupid.
Where
It's just because, the song was always called Question. We wrote that song in 96. Paul came up. That's why I gave Paul writing credit on that song on the album, in the booklet, whatever. He came up with a right. Paul was just good about coming up with fucking unique shit like that.
he was a riff factory.
That kind of riff he was a master of. And some structurally, some things in that song made it into the final Servile Insurrection version. Not necessarily the same riffs, but the same kind of like feel, I guess.
vibe,
And then
yeah.
the very ending, a lot of people are also like, what the fuck? It's either a love-hate thing with the jazz ending, right?
Yeah.
Some people love it, some people hate it. Some people think it's completely out of nowhere, which it is, but
Also, your number one most listened to song on Spotify.
well, it's also the first track on the album. So
I
people
mean,
listen to that and then
yeah.
don't go any
But I
further.
mean, but also after this many
Mike's-
years, though, it definitely starts to, those tracks, the intro tracks
Mhm.
tend to fall a little bit after like,
Yeah.
years and
What
years. of
Mike's trying to
listening.
say though is that riff actually continues. In
Yeah,
every song.
the bass line, the walking bass line in the jazz ending is the same line that is played by one of the guitar lines a few times in the song earlier. The chords are totally just jazz chords that I wrote over that walking bass line. But that originally in the Where version of Question, the jazz section was in the middle of the song and it was about 30-40 seconds long or something like that. It was much longer. It was kind of repetitive. I think it changed keys or shifted positions twice or something, but it was basically the same thing. And the very last section, it was my favorite, and that's what ended up being the outro to Question. And you can also hear some people who've listened to it loud can hear at the very fucking end, when I was doing the
It's
scratch
your guest
tracks.
vocals. It's your guest vocals.
Yeah. When I was doing the scratch tracks while Troy was tracking the drumming, I was in the room with them, and I think we did like three takes or something of that song, 3 or 4 takes, and um, we couldn't get the jazz part timing right, and on that final take we did, and you hear me yell perfect, and
It's right at the end.
it's
It was
right at
very,
the fucking
very-
I
end.
think I've
and
heard that.
we turned
Yeah.
it down. We had him turn it down a bit, so it was something you'd have to kind of listen for. But I thought it was funny, so I just left it
Yeah.
in.
Nice.
Totally. So where we go from, we haven't even really talked about, I mean, Servile. So you guys wrote that, you guys got it recorded with Zach, and then after that, I mean, well, with me. So we didn't really talk about me joining. I don't know if we really want to talk about that.
Well,
Oh, no, we don't want to talk about that. No.
yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
No, we don't need to talk about it. This
have
I'm actually the host of this show, so it's really like I could still be interviewing you guys without me being a part of the story. You know,
No.
we need to do the Anthony Trapney exclusive next.
Right.
Troy, do you
Yeah.
want me to tell the story? Or do you want me to keep talking, or do you want?
Either way, dude.
Uh,
Actually, I
the
really,
record-
need to, I really need to
Yeah.
pee. All this coffee is going.
Yeah,
straight
I'm gonna
through,
I'm gonna
so-
go take a leak really quick too.
Okay, so
I'll be right
wait,
back.
Troy, take it from here, bro.
I gotta pee too.
Everyone just got to pee, right? I was kidding.
But- oh man.
So Troy, are you still in Vegas? Are you?
I was wondering if that was gonna come up. I'm right now. I'm back in the Bay Area. I had come
Oh,
out-
really?
I am. I came out for work. It's supposed to be a temporary thing. It's turning into a wild adventure.
What part of the Bay?
When I'm gonna leave, I'm in San Mateo.
Oh,
Well,
wow.
actually, I'm kind of all over, but staying in Foster City and bouncing back and forth between like Santa Clara, San Mateo.
So what kind of what industry of work are you in?
I'm helping our buddy run some repair shops.
Okay,
Auto repair.
nice.
Yeah, it was one of those things. He's been kind of an entrepreneur on the side. We'd had other side businesses together. He was the one that helped me co-found and do Disfigured Records to put out Forced to Bleed.
Okay,
He was my roommate at the time, Alton, and so we've done a lot of stuff over the years, small side business things, and he was just getting an itch to do something. And there's a lot, a long backstory of how he got to this place. Us talking over the course of a couple of years about, what if we did what if he bought a car rental business, or what if he bought a car wash, or what if he did this, what if he did that, and eventually settled on wanting to get repair shops. And he's like, was looking at some a few years ago. And he was like, if I was to buy, somebody was selling like 3 Midas repair shops in the North Bay or something. Because if I bought like 3 shops, would you come back and help me run them?
okay, nice,
Well,
nice.
I mean, I'd come out, like, help you, get going, train like staff, whatever.
So
run for a while.
before Mike comes back, do you wanna get Severed back together, or what's going on?
Well, hell yeah. Bring that shit up all the time.
Yeah, who would say no to that? Who would fucking say no to that?
All right. Okay.
Once or twice a year, somebody says no to that.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that was one of those things that he called me one day and he was like, "Hey, so when you get here?" I was like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, when do you get here?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm probably gonna come visit in the next month or two. I'll come out for a few days." He's like, "No, when do you start?"
Did you know that he's back, Anthony? He's back in the Bay Area. Troy is.
Yeah,
I had no idea.
Actually, he's been here for a while. Actually,
Yeah.
the last time
good.
me, Mike, Troy have been in physical distance of each other was at your place. Are you still staying there with Alton?
Yeah. But it's one of those things I have not. For a while, I was commuting back and forth, and so I still had a place there. I still was paying rent. Still had people trying to like watch my cat while I was out of town, and
Huh.
I'd be here for like 10 days, go back for 4 days, come back for 2 weeks, go back for a week, kind of thing. And then eventually, it's like, why am I paying rent? So I moved out, put everything in storage, and then I was paying storage.
Yeah.
It's just like progressed. It's like, okay, bring everything here, stuff it in his garage. Yeah, so I just like, I thought it was going to be kind of a temporary thing. And it's one of those, like, I really want to be more social and get some music projects going, but I also haven't like really let anybody know I was back because I've been working like 6.5 days a week, 12 to 14 hours a day for like however long it is I've been here now.
Yeah.
And I just really like don't have any time to do anything. I'm trying to sort of get some life balance back in here now, but anyway, yeah. So hopefully be doing some cool stuff here in the future. Some other first I got to find a place to practice. Anybody got an extra spare corner in their jam room in the Bay Area that
Dude, I
doesn't
mean,
have
it's only
$1,000
it's
a
only
month?
it's only $9,000 a second, dude, and
You
we'll
know,
get you.
seriously, like, I don't know. I've called like a dozen rehearsal studios in the Bay Area that only do hourly, and
Yeah.
it's like 3 hours and only on Wednesdays. And
I used to have a rehearsal space, but COVID, so
Yeah.
well, yeah, a bunch of
that
yeah,
was down
that's-
here though.
That's been a whole fun thing too.
Yeah, it's
so
probably the same everywhere,
I'm
dude.
trying to like wait that out, and
Yeah.
I've actually had a couple of opportunities. Like, oh, man, there's been one of them I really wanted to do, but I just like didn't have the time, didn't have anywhere to practice, and they wanted somebody to like learn the stuff and record it soon. And actually, there was two of those. Both of them were in a very short time period, and I was like, I haven't even like seen my drums in like I don't know, a year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but soon.
So
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. I don't even remember where we left off. We got.
I was supposed to tell a story about something when he left for the bathroom.
So,
I think we were talking about
both left-
the recording of Servile. Like,
yeah, or well, how
something
I
about that.
came.
oh yeah,
Oh, yeah,
right.
yeah.
I just don't want to leave it out. I'm not trying to be like, oh, dude,
No, we
everybody
gotta
talk
add.
about me. But I'm just like, I'm part of the timeline, so it's like,
So we recorded drums in, I want to say, August of 2007. Started tracking guitar as soon as I had the scratch tracks, the rough mix drum stuff. There was a internal conflict in the band that led to us parting ways with Dusty, which was heartbreaking.
unforeseen
he was
and heartbreaking. Yeah.
Unforeseen, heartbreaking, and not. I don't think anybody wanted it to happen, but it did happen, unfortunately.
Including myself.
He was our original vocalist. He was a fucking great dude, a funny motherfucker, a great frontman, and he was, you think Severed Savior, up until that point, and you thought Dusty. As far as I'm concerned, he was the image of Severed Savior, however you want, the frontman, however you want to fucking put it. He was our David Lee Roth,
Man, right.
Yeah.
Him and Murray up front, you hiding and me in the back.
So when I was recording guitars, we parted ways with Dusty, unfortunately. I recorded the
Oh, I just hung out with him like a week ago for the first
Oh,
time.
really?
Like
Really?
Good.
10 years, no, 12 years. Yeah.
Sick.
Random
Right on.
story.
He's a dad now, right?
Hit me,
Yeah, I think he's got two
yeah,
kids.
2 kids.
Nice,
Hit me
dude.
up. Crazy. We'll have to talk about that later. But yeah,
Yeah.
it was awesome.
We will.
It was,
Good.
Sorry.
So after that, it took a few weeks for us to get the drum tracks. We recorded drums over, I think, 4 days, which Troy was late by about 3 hours to every day. But
I
that's,
work nights, man.
yeah, he knew he had to be there. He knew what time we started.
Apparently, I just like working under extreme pressure because that's just how,
He was late and in a mood for each one of those days of tracking. But we got through it. And he came up with, he laid down some pretty solid shit.
Ironically, that was my best recording experience up to that point.
Really?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. So
Even though I argued with you and Zach constantly the whole time.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, you and me got along okay. It was mostly
Well,
Zach.
Mostly Zach, yeah.
But the only time we argued really was when you were showing up late, and I was pissed off that you were late. But
ironically, for as much as there was tension with Zach during Servile, that's
Yeah.
the reason that I wanted to record drums with him for First Fragment in 2014 was because of the
Mhm.
product, the end result.
Yeah.
So
So we'll touch on that later. But
yeah,
he
Part twos.
So I got the drum tracks a few weeks later, something like that. I recorded my, pretty much all the guitars over, I was working nights at the time, and I was spending like maybe an hour or two a day recording over a few weeks. And I was still working out parts, I'd still kind of had some parts to write, like the second guitar parts that were different from the other guitar.
Oh yeah.
And then I lost all that shit and instantly started, I just said, fuck it, put my head down and re-recorded everything. And then Murray was going through some health issues. The beginning of major health issues probably was starting then. He's been diabetic since he was a kid. Yeah. Terrible. So he had some health shit going on. So he was sporadically recording bass. I was, both of us were kind of picking up bass duties. He was recording when he was able to. And when he was not able to, I was recording bass stuff. And then it just kind of went on the fucking back burner. Like there was December, January, February, and just nothing happened. And even though we had gotten Anthony's agreeal to join, he lost his grandma during that time, and that put shit, because we didn't have any lyrics written. We didn't have any lyrics. We had song titles for most of the songs, but we had no lyrics.
And ideas. I came to your house and you had
Yeah,
some
I mean,
ideas.
I had the what I like the theme should be lyrically, and just kind of told Anthony, here's a song title, here's the rough tracks, rough mix tracks, and this is kind of like, what I think the direction of the lyrics should be. And Anthony was like, okay, I got it, and he took it in that direction and put his own twists on things. But he had to put everything on the back burner for a few months, due to family shit and losing his grandma at that time. And then it wasn't until, I want to say like April or May, something like that, something like early summer, late spring, that Zach emailed me. He's like, dude, are we ever going to finish this fucking album?
Mhm.
And I was like, fuck, I don't know if this is ever going to happen. There was a long period where I thought it was just never going to come out. I thought we were never going to finish it. There had been so many things.
Well, dude, I mean, if we're going to talk about it real quick, like when I lost my Nana, it was a devastating thing. And when you go through something like that, a lot of times you go through that process. You said, I think it was like 2 months or 3 months or something before I really came back into it. Most of the time you're not the one who's making the decision. Like you need the push from somewhere else, to make you come back out of that funk,
Yeah.
And I got that somehow, some way, and I came back and we finished that shit. It was a great experience, dude. Like I think if I compare Cryptic and Servile, I want to say that Servile sounds better. And I'm not saying that in a way, because Cryptic's got its own thing too. It sounds really
different.
It's just, it's two totally different things. So the way that they sound is perfect for what they are. And I think that Servile to me is just like super fucking clean, dude.
Yep.
It's really clean.
Cryptic was more like just jump in the studio and just handle it and just be done in a few days. And that's it.
And I that gives it character, like the raw,
Totally.
like fucking, real. And I'm not saying that Servile isn't real. I'm just saying like Odious's Cryptic has this raw, real feel to it, and like Servile is real, but it's also super clean, dude. It's like if I want to think like Cryptic,
Servile is a really good recording.
Yeah,
I think it sounds
but so is Cryptic. They're totally different. I love the rawness and grittiness of Cryptic, and
thanks.
my whole goal, I set out, producing Servile and helping with the mixing and everything. I set out with I wanted it to be very, not sterile, but I wanted it so you could hear every note. I
Yeah.
wanted it to be very little reverb. You know, on all my solos have like almost no reverb because I didn't want to hide behind. I felt like some people hid behind reverb or it covered up sloppiness. You know, I wanted everything to be bass and you know, I think I may have gone a little too far with how dry it is. But that was the goal. You know, I was almost inspired by like Rain and Blood. Rain and Blood is so fucking, you know, it's so distinct. Everything, you know, both guitars are hard panned. There's like no reverb on them. You can hear every fucking, you know, the drums have a good amount of reverb on them, but everything was super clear. And that was kind of the inspiration, like kind of what my goal for the sound of Servile was to do something along those lines where everything was just crystal clear. And you know, it's you know, in some aspects or some, you know, I don't know, it came out okay. I don't know.
It
Some
came out
people love it,
great.
some people hate. You know, some people.
I'll never ever
Yeah.
hear you
I
say
love that
that
recording.
anything you've done sounds sick, dude.
There's
Weird.
parts. There's some things that I'm
What?
really proud of.
And what's your favorite part that you've
what's the
done?
sickest sounding shit out
that
of all
you've
your stuff
done?
that you've done?
The things that I'm probably most proud of on, if we're just talking about Servile, the solo section for Question, I'm proud of. The clean song I'm proud of. The acoustic thing. The one of my favorite parts and things that I'm most proud of writing is what I call the goofy section of Acts of Sedition.
Again?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was one of those things where you know, I wrote Servile on Power Tab, which for those of you that don't know, it's a free tablature program where you just type in the tablature and then you can hear it in a cheesy 8-bit. Yeah, just 8-bit Nintendo music sound, and it's sometimes it's hilarious. And that goofy part of Axis Edition, I wrote in about 5 minutes, all 3 parts. The 2 guitar parts are pretty independent of each other, and the bass part is completely different from both guitar parts. And I just remember like writing the guitar parts, and I wrote the guitar parts first and then wanted to put a goofy bass line over it. And just in the Power Tab, it's hilarious sounding. Like it's not death metal in any way. There's nothing about it that's brutal or dark sounding. It's just fucking goofy. Like if any of you can download the Power Tab for it, if you can find it, listen to that section.
I got it.
It's goofy as shit.
Yeah.
I just remember being so stoked. Like I couldn't get it out of my head. I wrote the whole thing in like 5-10 minutes, you know, got it down in Power Tab, listened to it, and just like, this is the funniest shit. I fucking love it. But it worked, you know, it's something unique, you know, it's not really a straightforward death metal part, but you know, it's in a death metal song, you know. I don't know. It's just it's a cool, goofy, groovy thing that just came up out of nowhere. I love it. I think it's hilarious.
Yeah, that's so rad. Well, just guys, I just want to just kind of interject here and just kind of think. I think we should do an episode 2 of this. You know.
Yeah. I don't even know what time we're at right now.
We
15.
I want to kind of like make sure this video has the like best quality. So like we should probably, I think, cap it off pretty soon here. And then we can continue the story. It was so fun talking to you guys. It's awesome.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah. Awesome.
I don't know how much, you know, more there is to say, but there's at least there's some
been
shit.
So rad. There's so many awesome stories.
There's more to go over, but not, you know, definitely not
we
as
haven't
much
even
as
talked
we've
about the Servile Insurrection tour.
Yep.
We haven't even touched on it.
Yeah.
So-
Oleg. Shout out to Oleg.
Oh,
Shout out to Oleg. Yeah,
Artificial brain.
Yeah.
We're gonna have
dude.
multiple episodes.
What
We're gonna
time are
keep
we at
going.
right now, though, Casey? What
11,
time is it
15.
right now?
It's 11:15. We've been going for over 3 hours.
Oh,
Jesus
shit.
Christ.
Yeah, so it's okay. It's all
Oh,
good. I
fuck,
just
dude.
wanna,
I really thought we were still
Yeah.
in the 2 hour to
No,
3 hour
no,
range.
no. It's all good.
Oh, shit.
Sorry if I
Okay.
Yeah.
No, no.
Ram-
It's
I
been
tend to
such
ramble.
an awesome
Sorry.
good time. No, it's dude.
No, I love it.
Dude,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
are so stoked. That was
And
so
one thing I have to say is just to link last episode to this episode is that Mike is like the embodiment of that guy that person that is never satisfied with what they put out, and that's why they keep getting better.
Yeah, and that's what I
Yeah.
was talking about before. It's like,
Yeah,
if you're an artist and you're satisfied, you're gonna stop moving.
yeah.
forward.
And he's the embodiment of nope, I don't like that. We're not doing it like that. We're gonna make this better. And if it's not like this, then I'm out.
It's
good.
not,
that's rad.
it's not easy working with somebody like that. And Troy has been more than patient with me for 27 years. How long has it been? 27 years, 28 years that we've been playing together now.
Yeah.
I know that I've been difficult and I've limited our production output being the way I am. So I apologize for that, Troy. Hopefully that what little I have accomplished made up for us.
You can make up for it with a new album.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely
Yeah.
quality over quantity, yeah.
Teaser for part 2.
Yeah.
Hell
All right,
great
guys.
time
Well,
for
thank you guys so
Death
much.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, you guys are
cheers,
awesome.
guys.
Definitely.
Guys.
Dude,
Awesome.
love you
yeah, I
guys.
know,
That was
I'm-
so much fun.
Hell
A
yeah.
little behind the scenes thing. We're gonna stop this and then we're gonna keep talking for just 30 more seconds. But yeah, thank you very much, everybody.
Awesome,
I want to
guys.
say goodbye. I hate this, like, oh, we're gonna end it and then the episode's done. I want to say goodbye to everybody before, it's
Totally,
whatever.
dude. That's
But yeah.
awesome.
We love everybody else out there. Thank you for tuning in. We're gonna be back again. Next week is Diego Sanchez.
Discourage.
And we're gonna get the Discord story. Mike and Troy, you got to be coming back soon because it seems like we have more to talk
Yeah.
about. And
Yeah.
dude, super cool. Subscribe, keep going with it, and rock on. Have a great time, dude. I'll see
Awesome.
you guys soon.
Yes.
Yeah.
Peace out, dudes.